Okay, good evening everyone. Welcome to Byju's Exam Prep IAS. This is Sham Kagur here. Now, before we start the discussion, if there is no issue with the sound, please give me a thumbs up. Let me know that I'm audible to you so that we can start the discussion. Done. Thanks a lot. So let's start. Yesterday, what we have done? Yesterday, we started with the strategy that you're supposed to follow for the civil services UPSC examination preparation only for Indian economy. I've taught only for Indian economy. Okay. So after that, what is the syllabus, what are the references, etc. we have seen. And after that, we started with the discussion on the concept of introduction, right? What we have discussed in introduction in a nutshell, we have seen what is the definition of economics, just to put in a nutshell, right? And many of you are asking me yesterday, sir, how do I revise? It's so worst, how do I revise? What I would recommend is try to make mind maps. I'll just give you idea of a mind map. For example, yesterday what we have done, we started with introduction chapter, correct? In introduction, what we have discussed? In introduction, we have discussed one, what is the definition of economics? What is the definition? You can write what is the definition of economics. After that, what is the difference between micro and macroeconomics? Micro and macroeconomics. Then we have discussed the factors of production, the four factors of production. What are the four factors of production? Land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. Land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. Then after four factors of production, we have discussed concept of law of demand, and we also have discussed law of supply, law of demand, law of supply. Then we have discussed the concept of opportunity cost, correct? Concept of opportunity cost. We also have discussed, right, basically the movement along the curve. The movement along the curve. Movement along the curve. We are supposed to discuss the shift of the curve. We'll discuss it now. We discussed a movement along the curve. Apart from this, we also have discussed concept of capitalism, right? The idea of a capitalism, the idea of socialism, also the idea of mixed economy. So have a look at this, what I've done just now, right? So have a look at this. What I've done right in front of you right now is basically the idea of a mind map. Now, don't just write what we have discussed. What is the definition? Write in one or two lines. The difference between micro and the macroeconomics, 2 or 3 points here. Then we have basically discussed the factors of production, the four factors of production: land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship, 119 for each one of them. Then what is the law of a demand? The factors which will have an impact on the demand in the market, right? Right, all those. Then law of supply, the factors which will influence the supply in the market. Then what is opportunity cost, right? Certain points, 2 or 3 points. It is also referred as alternative cost, right? Certain 3 or 4 points regarding opportunity cost, you can write it. Then concept of movement along the curve. Why do we call it as contraction, expansion, right? When does the movement along the curve happen? That is, it happens only when there is a change in the price of the product, not every time. Only when there is a change in the price of the product. Then regarding capitalism, 3 or 4 lines. Socialism, 3 or 4 lines. And mixed economy, 3 or 4 lines. So you'll have a very good idea as to what you have discussed, as well as it will become very easy for you to revise on day-to-day basis. All of you okay with this? So this is what we have discussed yesterday. Now let me start discussing right from the point today. But before that, two very important announcement. First one, as usual, yesterday I've announced it. Again, I'm going to announce it today. Before the starting of economic classes, in the evening session, there was polity classes, which was conducted by Anubhav sir. A feedback form has been sent to you. Please fill up the feedback form. Give your honest feedback regarding the classes, that is polity classes. The first important announcement. Second very important announcement, the coming Saturday, right? That is today's Thursday. So Friday and Saturday. So on Saturday, there is basically a doubt resolution session. Doubt resolution session. Doubt resolution session for which subject? It will be for polity subject. Is it okay? It is for polity subject. And this doubt resolution session will start from 8 a.m. Morning 8 a.m. It will start from 8 a.m. Now, if you have these doubts, anything regarding polity which has been discussed, you have these kind of doubts in polity, please send this through mail. Please send it to through mail. So which mail? What is the email ID? There is IAS, just a second. There is a email ID iaslive at byju's.com. I'm pretty sure all of you have it. If not, this is the email ID. This is the email ID iaslive at byju's.com. So any doubts regarding polity that you have, which you want the faculty to discuss on Saturday, that is the doubt resolution session, which will start at 8 a.m. Please send this particular doubt to iaslive at byju's.com. But one more very important point, when you send your doubt, please write the subject polity doubt. Is it okay? Please write the subject polity doubt. In the subject right line, please write polity doubt. Any problem with this announcement? Please do let me know right now. Right? Let me know. Any problem with this kind of announcement? Simple announcement. Right? Polity, feedback form, fill in the feedback form. Second, Saturday, 8 a.m., the doubt resolution will start. If you have got any kind of doubt in polity which you want the faculty, sir, to discuss, please write a mail. This is the email ID and the subject line should be very simple, polity doubt. The faculty will take it up and discuss in the session. Okay, done. So with these two caveats, let me start. Let me start the discussion. Yesterday we have discussed, right? Yesterday we have discussed the concept of the movement along the curve. First, we discussed what is law of demand. Then we discussed law of supply, and after that, market equilibrium. And then I said, whenever you talk about the demand and supply, etc., in the market, generally there are two things to remember again. One is movement along the curve, and the second one is called as shift of the curve. And I said yesterday, the movement along the curve. Remember this point very carefully. The movement along the curve is observed only when there is a change in the price of the product. Is the logic okay with all of you? The movement is always observed when the price of the product changes. That is, you will either move upwards in the curve or downwards in the curve. But apart from movement, there is one more concept. That is shift of the curve. Apart from the movement, there is one more concept called as shift of the curve. What is the shift of the curve? Let's try and understand what is the shift of the curve. Although I've given a lot of calculations here, you don't have to by heart calculations. Let me give you with a very simple example. Imagine there is a particular product that you can purchase. Let me write in a separate slide. Imagine there is a particular product. The price of the product is, let's say, 20 rupees per unit. Okay. Price of the product is 20 rupees per unit. And right now, a person will have, let's say, 100 rupees. A person will have 100 rupees. Now, if I use all the 100 rupees to purchase the product, how many units I will be able to purchase? I'll be able to purchase 5 units of the product. All of you okay with this? Anybody has a problem with CSAT? 100 rupees is there, per unit 20 rupees, so 5 units. So if I basically plot it, I'll get it like this. Imagine this is 5 units, this is 10 units, and this is 20 rupees per unit. So if I plot it along x-axis quantity, along y-axis price of the product. Where will I get the point? I will get the point here. Any problem? 20, 5 or 5, 20 if you want to be very precise. I will get the point here. Now let's say the person's income, I repeat, let's say the person's income will change from 100 rupees to 140 rupees. Simple. Example 1. The person's income will change from 100 rupees to 140 rupees. Now can I say At 20 rupees per unit, the person will be able to purchase 7 units of the product. Anybody has a problem with this? At 20 rupees per unit, the person will be able to purchase how many units? 7 units. Question number 1, please start participating. Has the price of the product changed here? I'll repeat the question. Has the price of the product changed here? Absolutely no. At the same price, some of you are saying yes. My dear, listen to me very carefully. Listen to me carefully. Price of the product was 20 rupee per unit. Earlier also I purchased at 20. Now also I'm purchasing at 20. Price is not changing because I hope you remember yesterday's discussion. If the price of the product changes, you'll observe movement along the curve. Is the logic okay? If the price changes, you'll observe movement along the curve. Here, price is same. Price is not changing, but the income of the person is changing. Now, as a result of change in the income, can I say this particular point is shifting to the right now? Any problem here? As a result of change in the income, can I say the point is shifting to the right? I'll take one more example. Rather than 100 rupees, let's say the income of the person will fall down to 60 rupees. Another example now. Rather than 100 rupees, the income of the person will fall down to 60 rupees. At 20 rupees per unit, now the person will be able to purchase how many units? 3 units. Now see what is happening to the point. Now can I say as a result of change in the income, the point will generally start shifting to the left. Any problem with the idea of a shift to the right, shift to the left? Please do let me know now. Any problem in understanding what you mean by shift? Shift happens whenever price remains the same. I repeat, price remains unchanged, but income of the person changes. Taste and preference changes, etc. So that is the reason there is a term called as shift of the curve. Shift of the curve. Now, why this is called a shift of the curve? While explaining, when I explain this, I took only one point. What if this is a proper demand curve like this? Think of it. What if it is a proper demand curve? If it is a demand curve, if one point is shifting to the right, don't you think all the other points will also start shifting to the right? All of you okay with this? What if, right, if it is a proper demand curve, if one point will shift to the right, you cannot have a demand curve like this. I hope you understand. You cannot have a demand curve where only one point will shift. All the points automatically will start shifting to the right. Now, if all the points will shift to the right, what will be the new demand curve? The new demand curve will also shift to the right. Is the logic okay here? So either you can observe a shift of the curve to the right or a shift of the curve to the left. But what is the important point? In this case, price of the product is not changing. Apart from the price remains the same. Apart from the price, any other factor, it could be income of the person, it could be taste and preferences, it could be any other factor except the price of the product that is actually changing. As a result of which, either the demand will shift to the right of the original demand curve, or the curve will shift to the left. And whenever the curve is shifting, I repeat, whenever the curve is shifting, please use the term increase or decrease. Please use the term increase or decrease. Sir, how do I use the terms increase or decrease in this context? Let me give a very simple example. The income of the person has increased from 100 rupees to 140 rupees. Look at the numbers that I've written. Please look at the numbers. The income of the person has increased it from 100 rupees to 140 rupees. As a result of this, the demand for the products also has increased from 5 units to 7 units. Is the logic okay? Can I read it otherwise also? That is opposite side. If the income of the person falls from 100 rupees to 60 rupees, then right, that is decreases from 100 rupees to 60 rupees, then the demand for the product will also decrease from 5 units to 3 units. Right, this is how you use the term increase, decrease in the context of shift of the curve. You use the term expansion, contraction in the context of movement along the curve. Is everybody okay with this? Can I go forward now? If everybody is okay with this, and those who are asking what will happen if the price changes, my dear, you have not revised them. It simply means you have not revised. Why? Yesterday evening, last point, what was discussed? You tell me. Yesterday evening, what was the last point we have discussed? What we have discussed is the same thing. That is, when the price of the product changes, we observe movement along the curve. In this case, price of the product is not changing. I repeat, price of the product is not changing. But what is the quantity demanded? Because of income changes, because of taste and preference will change, because of other factors will start changing. That is the very important difference. Please be very, very careful. Done? Okay. So shift of the curve is not understood. Okay. Do you remember how do we draw the curve? Let me know. Do you remember how do we draw the curve? Yesterday I've discussed this, right? Nothing is new. I'm not discussing anything new here. Do you remember how do we draw the curve? We draw the curve by taking whatever is the demand at different prices. At 20 rupees, a demand will be 180 units. At 30 rupees, demand will be 160. At 40 rupees, demand will be 140. So we'll take x comma y coordinates, connect all the dots, and that is how we will get the original curve. This is the original curve. I'm saying, what if the income of the person changes? Right? What if the income of the person changes? So if the income of the person increases, so at every price level, the demand will also keep on increasing. At least now, is it okay? If the income of the person increases, then the demand, right? If the income of the person increases, that the demand at different price levels will also increase. At 20 rupees, instead of purchasing 180 units, the person will purchase 200 now. At 30 rupees, instead of purchasing 160, the person will purchase 180. Now, please, right, plot the new points. Please plot the new points. You will get the points like this. The new points will become like this. So connect all the dots. What you will get is a new demand curve. So when the income of the person has increased, the demand will, right, basically also increase, as a result of which the curve will shift to the right. And when the income of the person will fall, all the points will shift to the left. Connect all the dots. What you will get is a new demand curve, which is to the left of the original demand curve. Is the logic okay? At least now, can we go forward? Right? Can we go forward? So these topics are from 12th class economics? Yes. Yes, these are from 12th class economics, NCRT, by the way. Okay. So are you assuming that the price is fixed? My dear, the whole story, if you don't listen carefully, if you do not listen to me very carefully, everything becomes new to you. From the beginning of the discussion, I've been shouting the same thing. Price is not changing. Price is not changing. Price is not changing. So in case of shift of the curve, price does not change. In case of movement along the curve, price changes. In fact, all of it. Now, this is generally the concern for me. Concern, why? It shows that you have not revised. Clearly, it shows that you have not revised. Why? Please look at the slide. Tell me if it is not written in the slide. I don't know what you have been reading, what revision you have done, which PPT you have used. Please tell me, is it not written in the slide? Movement along the curve happens when the price of the commodity changes. Shift of the curve happens when there is a change in any other parameter other than price. It is clearly there in the PPT, which shows that you people are simply collecting PPT. Is the logic okay? You people are collecting PPT. You already have become collectors. Collectors of what? Collectors of PPT. Okay. Now, let me start. Let me start with other concepts. Types of goods. Okay. I'll discuss different classification of goods. Listen to me carefully. Let's start. First classification based on the income. Okay. First classification based on the income. There are two types of goods. One is normal goods. Second one is inferior goods. One is normal. Second one is inferior. What is the meaning of normal? Whenever income of the person moves in any direction. I repeat, whenever income of the person moves in any direction means what? If income of the person goes up or goes down. Whenever income of the person changes, the demand for the good also changes in the same direction. Any problem here? I'll repeat it again. What are normal goods? Whenever the income of the person changes, the demand for these goods will also change in the same direction. Meaning what? If the income of the person goes up, then the demand for such goods will also go up. If the income decreases or goes down, the demand also goes down. Such types of goods are called as normal goods. Any example of this? I've written the names of the examples. I've written some examples in the third line. Please have a look at it. You think of it and please tell me. Imagine there is one more wave of the pandemic. I repeat, imagine. Imagine there is one more wave of the pandemic. What do you think will happen to unemployment in India? Simple question to all of you. Start participating. Once you participate, start answering. It becomes very easy. What will happen to unemployment? Unemployment will start increasing. Anybody who says, no, sir, unemployment will decrease during pandemic, etc. So unemployment will increase, which also means incomes earned by the people will also start in decreasing. All of you okay with this? Incomes of the people will also start decreasing. Now you tell me, if people are losing jobs, their incomes are coming down, do you think demand for the car will start increasing or decreasing? The demand for the cars, do you think it will start increasing or decreasing? The demand for the cars will start decreasing. On the other side, on the contrary, if every one of us or everybody in the economy starts to get a good job, their earnings will start increasing. Don't you think because of higher earnings, demand for cars will start increasing? Demand for refrigerators, TVs, ACs will start increasing. So is the logic okay here? The income and demand are positively related. That is, whatever is the direction of the movement of the income, the demand will also change in the same direction. Right? Such goods are called as normal goods. What about inferior goods? Inferior goods are exactly opposite. Income and demand are going to move in opposite direction. Right? Income and demand are going to move in opposite direction. Right? That is basically the concept of the inferior goods. That is, if the income increases, the demand for this good will start decreasing. And if income decreases, the demand for this good will start increasing. These are called as inferior goods. Sir, any examples of this? I'll ask you a very simple question. What if there is a particular house, only one person is earning income, and the income of the person starts coming down? Either the salary is cut or the person will start losing the job. As a result of this, think of it and do let me know. Will they start purchasing a rice whose price is 30 rupees per kg or a rice whose price is 20 rupees per kg? Think of it. When income of this person will start falling down or the person loses the job, will they start consuming more of rice one or rise to? All of you will agree with me when I'll say now they're concerned, that is, the household is concerned that income is very less. We cannot continue to consume the same type, same quality of goods. So, what we will do is to restrict our expenditure, we'll start consuming more of inferior quality rice, lower quality products, so that expenditure will be limited. So in this example, is it okay? The income of the person is going down and the demand for inferior quality products is actually rising. So this is called as inferior goods. But what you need to remember, please remember these concepts. Income and demand, if they are moving in the same direction or positively related, that is very important. Same direction or positively related, these are called as normal. Negatively or inversely related, right, or moving in opposite direction, these are called as inferior goods. Can we go forward now? Can we go forward? Many of you are saying, sir, examples. My dear, examples are there in the slide itself. Examples are there in the slide itself. I'll give you one more example. Right? If the people will start losing their jobs, don't you think people will start preferring to take public transportation rather than traveling in their own vehicle? Let me know. Will they not prefer to travel in a public transportation rather than using their own vehicle? Because using the own vehicle means very costly. Public transportation along with everyone, cheaper. Right? So that is one set. Second set of goods, given goods and Veblen goods. Right? Many of you are saying, sir, in that case, given good, etc., etc. I come to know based on the comments of the students, I come to know whether you have a background in economics or not. So we will discuss, don't worry. So second set, given goods and Veblen goods. And this classification is based on the prices of the product. Now remember this, both Giffen and Veblen do not follow law of demand. What does the law of demand say? The law of demand states that whenever the price of the product changes, ceteris paribus, whenever the price of the product changes, the demand will change in opposite direction. That is what the law of demand says. In case of both Giffen and Veblen goods, the price and the demand will move in same directions. Again, although I've written arrow mark upwards, I repeat, the price and the demand will move in same directions. Same directions means price goes up, demand also goes up. The price goes down, demand also goes down. That is basically the concept of Giffen and Veblen goods. Point number one. Point number two. Sir, if price and demand are moving in the same direction for these goods, why there are two types? Why not have only one type? Why there are two types? Reason is that Veblen goods are consumed by ultra rich people. Ultra rich people. Ultra means very, very rich people in the economy. I'll give you examples, have patience. Whereas given goods are consumed by very, very poor people. At least now all of you are okay, right? In the sense, based on the people, based on who is right going to be covered or who's going to consume Giffen and Veblen, at least now you should understand, okay, very rich people, they will consume different products compared to very, very poor people. Let me start with the second one. What about high quality diamonds? High quality diamonds, very, very high quality diamonds or high carat diamonds. What about sports cars? Right? What about sports cars? Right? Point number one. Don't you think these examples, by the virtue of these examples, the products are very costly? Is the logic okay? The products are very, very costly. Not everybody can afford these products. Right? I can dream of buying them. Many of you can dream of buying them. Many of you have sufficient resources to buy them. But lot of population in India can only think of buying these products. They do not have sufficient money to purchase them. But having said so, have you not seen people purchasing Rolls Royce car? Correct? Have you not seen people purchasing Bugatti cars, Ferrari cars, right? Very, very high quality, very, very costly diamonds Of course, yes. Why? Why do they purchase it? They purchase it because they want to showcase this as a status symbol. Simple logic. They want to showcase this as a status symbol. That is, they want to prove to the society that they are very, very costly or they are very, very rich. They have huge amount of money. That is the display they want to make it to the society. And for that purpose only, they will purchase these cars. There is no other objective. I hope you understand this. There is no objective. Do you think Ferrari car will give you better mileage compared to any other car which is purchased by a middle class household? Do you think Bugatti car will give you a better mileage compared to any other middle class household purchased car? Absolutely no. But even then, there will be certain people who will demand more of this. They will purchase more of this. Only reason is they want to use this as a status symbol. They want to showcase it to the economy that they are very, very rich. You cannot purchase it. I can purchase it. In fact, there is a term for this. These are called as snobs. Such a kind of people are referred to as snobs. Right? Why these are called as snobs? They will purchase it for the price tag because everybody cannot afford it. Hence, they will purchase it. Is the logic okay? Right? Any problem with this? And those who are asking any example of given goods, my dear, what are you listening to? What are you listening to? Have you not seen the examples written right in front of you? I don't know. I don't know. I generally fail to understand what you people generally listen to. Okay. So this is concept of Veblen goods. Very, very high-end luxury products are called as Veblen goods. Now, what about given goods? What about given goods? Point number one, these are consumed by very, very poor people. Very, very poor people. Remember that. Point number two, these are nothing but inferior goods. These are nothing but very, very inferior goods. And have you seen inferior goods? Or at least a couple of minutes ago, did you listen to what is inferior good? Income and demand will move in opposite direction. Income and demand will move in opposite direction. Right? Income goes down, demand for such products will start increasing. Those are inferior goods. Now, why does it happen? Why does it happen? Why do we say in case of given goods, the price and the demand will move in the same direction? Why do we say that? Let me explain it. Listen to me very carefully. Point number one, this is a very poor house. Very poor house. Please remember that. That is a starting point. Very, very poor house. Which means what? Whatever they are consuming right now, whatever they're consuming right now, these are already very inferior goods. Is it okay? These are already very inferior goods. Let's say they are purchasing a quantity, right? A certain quantity of rice, and along with this rice, they are also purchasing certain amount of dal. Now, let's say hypothetically, price of this rice will start increasing. Now, question number one, please think very carefully and answer to me. If the price of this rice increases, can they substitute with another quality of rice? Think very carefully. Can they substitute with another quality of rice? Those who are saying yes, my dear, you are not listening very carefully. Why? They cannot substitute. They cannot substitute. Why? Point number one, this is a very, very poor household. And second, this rice is already the most inferior product. The most inferior quality rice. Again, please listen carefully. It's already inferior product. So if it is already an inferior product, if you say, let's say this is 10 rupees per kg, your argument will be, sir, they will replace this with, let's say, 12 rupees per kg rice. My dear, how they can substitute? Because will they be able to pay 12 rupees now, higher prices? That is not possible. That's not possible. In that case, even if the price of rice goes up to 11 rupees per kg, let's say 11 rupees per kg, this house will not be able to purchase more of dal. Instead, it will start consuming more of rice itself. Does it make sense to you or not? I'll repeat it again. The price of rice, let's say, will increase from 10 rupees to 11 rupees. The house cannot substitute this rice because any other product is more costlier. I repeat, any other product is more costlier. They cannot substitute it. And can they purchase more dal? No, they will not be able to purchase more dal also because dal is much more costlier. Right? Don't say if they can't eat rice, let them eat wheat. Right? Go to the market and check what is the price of the wheat, then you will realize. Right? So price of rice, let's imagine, has increased. But in order to sustain the day-to-day activities, they will reduce the consumption of dal. Rather, they will start consuming more of rice only. Have you not seen these in movies? Let me know. Have you seen this kind of a situation, at least in movies, where mother will basically serve more of rice and dal will not be there? Right? In fact, it happens in many houses. In fact, it happens in rural houses, which are very, very poor houses. Right? So these right situations, what you will observe, you will see that the price of rice has increased and the demand for the inferior quality product also has increased. Right? So such type of goods are called as giffen goods. Can we go forward now? So giffen goods, Veblen goods. In both the cases, price and demand will move in same direction. But the difference, right? But the difference is that giffen goods are consumed. These are very inferior goods, are consumed by very, very poor people. Veblen goods are high quality goods consumed by very rich people. Right? That is a very important difference. Please remember this. Okay. Now let me go to the third set of goods, merit goods and demerit goods. Merit and demerit goods. Let me start with a very simple example. If people will get more and more of education, is it good for the whole society or the whole economy or not? You tell me. If more and more people will get access to healthcare, more and more people will get access to education, is it good for the person? Yes. Is it good for the house to which the person belongs? Yes. Is it good for the whole economy? Of course, yes. Some of you are asking, how is it good for the economy? My dear, if the person will get very good education, a graduation will be done, a certificate is there, will they get a better job in the market? Yes. If they get a better job in the market, they will earn better salary, which is good, not only good for the house plus the person, but because there is a graduate now, don't you think the companies will be able to provide jobs, get more production, right? A more supply of goods and services. So it is not only good for the house, it is good for the person as well as good for the whole society or the economy. Such goods are called as merit goods. Such goods are referred to as merit goods. Any problem in the concept of merit goods? I don't want to take the names of the students rather than doubting whether this is a live class or not a live class. Ask questions. If there is a question, ask questions when I ask you if there is any doubt. Don't keep on asking whether this is a live, etc., etc. If there is a doubt, when I ask you what is the doubt, ask me the question. That is the right way to approach always. Can we go forward now? Demerit goods, right? What is the concept? Once again, what is a merit good? I'll repeat it again. Okay. Whenever these goods are consumed or services for that matter, more in quantity, it is not only going to provide benefit to the consumer, it is going to provide benefit to the whole society or the economy. Right? It is going to provide benefit not only to the person, but it will provide benefit to everyone. That is a type of good which is called as a merit good. In fact, I'll add one more point here. There is a concept called as externality or spillover effect. There is this concept of externality or spillover effect. What do you mean by externality or spillover effect? Let me explain to you. Listen to me very carefully. Externality or spillover effect basically means there is one event that is happening. There is one event. The result of this event, or as a result of this event, it will also affect another event that is taking place. I'll explain and listen to me carefully. There is an event that is taking place, and as a result of this, it will have an impact on another event. This is called as a spillover effect or externality. Any example of this? Let me take a current affairs example. Russia Ukraine war. Russia Ukraine war. Please tell me, is India anyway connected to this particular war that is happening between two countries? Let me know. Is India anyway, again, anyway in the sense, are we a party to the war? Are we a party? Party in the sense, are we participating in the war? No. There are two countries which are fighting with each other. But don't you think because of the fight between two countries, there is an impact felt on Indian economy? Correct? There is an impact felt on Indian economy. How? Very simple example, crude oil. The best example that you can think of is crude oil. And if you're reading newspapers, please do let me know. Is there any article related to crude oil prices in recent times, last 2 or 3 days, even today for that matter? Of course, yes. So crude oil prices have started going upwards, and that is affecting India because we import crude oil. So there is an event which is having an impact on another thing. This is called as a spillover effect, or this is called as externality. Can we go forward? Point number 2 in this. The externality can be positive or externality can be negative. I repeat, externality can be positive also, externality can be negative also. How so? This is an example of negative externality. All of you okay with this? This is an example of negative externality. Any other example of positive externality? I'll give a very simple example. Imagine India is having a trade relation with one country X. There is a country X. We are exporting goods and services to country X. What if this country, the employment increases? People are earning more money in the country X. Now think of it. If people in country X start to earn more, don't you think they will start demanding more and more for goods and services? And as a result of this, a higher demand for goods and services, what will happen to India's exports then? India's exports will start increasing. And don't you think if India's exports will increase, it is good for Indian economy? So this, I'll refer to this as a positive externality. This is nothing but an example of positive externality. So is the logic okay here? There can be a positive externality, there can be a negative externality. Everything is connected, spillover effect. Now come back to this. Let me know now. In case of merit goods, can I say merit goods will have positive externality? I've already discussed it. You need to connect the dots. I'll repeat it. In case of merit goods, it will have positive externality. Anybody has a doubt? Anybody has a doubt? Please do let me know. I'll go to the demerit goods now. Now, in case of demerit goods, more and more consumption of the demerit goods will have negative externality. That is, not only the person who consumes it will be affected, the whole society or the economy will also be affected. So how is that possible? I'll give you a hypothetical situation. Hypothetical situation. Let's say after the class is over, right? I will take lot of drinks. I'll consume lot of alcohol. Hypothetically, okay? I'll consume lot of alcohol. Then I'll take my car and start driving on the road. So question number 1, is it good or bad for me? The consumption of alcohol, is it good or bad? It's bad for me. Second, if I go and hit someone, is it good or bad? Of course, that is bad. Assume I'll not hit anyone, I'll hit a pole. Then I'm affected. Will my productivity be affected? Will the goods and services that is produced in the economy, will it get affected? Of course, yes. So I hope you understand. The consumer, not only the consumer is affected by this, the whole society or the economy is also getting affected. So can I say The demerit goods will have negative externalities. Any problem with this? The demerit goods will have negative externalities, right? So it will create a negative impact, negative externality or spillover effect. And examples for demerit goods are alcohol, tobacco, etc. Can we go forward? Can we go forward? Any problem with merit goods and demerit goods? Please do let me know. Any problem? Okay. Okay. So next one is based on who is the producer. Based on who is the producer, there are two types of goods. One is a public good, second one is a private good. Okay, one is a public good, second one is a private good. What is the public good? Please understand there are two terms here: non-rival, non-excludable. Private goods are excludable and rival. Some of you misunderstand public and private, meaning public means provided by the government, private means provided by private sector. No, listen to me very carefully. One is a public good and the other one is a private good. And to understand what is public and private, understand two terms. Understand two terms very carefully: excludability and rivalry. Excludability and rivalry of the product. What do you mean by this? Let's start. Excludable means people can be excluded from the consumption of this if they do not pay the money. Very simple. People can be excluded if they do not pay the money. Sir, what do you mean by this? Imagine you go to a car showroom, you will purchase a car. Question number one: will you pay money to purchase the car or not? Think of it and please do answer to me. Will you pay money to purchase a car? Yes, you'll have to pay money. So is it okay if I say you'll be able to use the car only if you pay the money? If you do not pay the money, the car will not be available to you, which means you can be excluded from the consumption of the car. Any problem with the term excludability? Let me know. Any problem with the term excludability? On the other side, rival. Rival means what? Read the statement carefully. Consumption of this good prevents others from consuming this good. Meaning what? Imagine there is a showroom, and in the showroom, let's say there are 10 cars right now. You will go to the showroom, you will pay money, and you will purchase the car. Now, please tell me, once you purchase one car, can I say the availability of cars to others in the market will come down to 9 cars? Any problem? The availability of the cars to the people, others in the market will come down. Means what? Once you have purchased the product, you have paid money. That is excludability of paid money. But once you purchase the car, this car is not available for consumption for others. It is only available for you. This is the concept of rival. Repeat excludability. I'll repeat it again. Please listen. Please listen carefully, my dear. It's like going 2 steps forward, jumping 3 steps backward. Always going 2 steps forward, jumping 3 steps backward. Outcome is -1. Excludability means you will have to pay money, only then you can use the product. If you do not pay the money, you cannot use the product. Simple. For example, let me take a current affairs example. Vande Bharat Express. Please tell me, Vande Bharat Express, if you want to travel in Vande Bharat Express, should you pay money, purchase ticket, or you can simply walk in and travel in Vande Bharat? Is the logic okay? Does it make sense or not? You will have to pay money, purchase a ticket, otherwise you will be excluded. Is the logic okay? You will be excluded. Very simple. So I'll repeat it again. Whenever you'll have to pay money to get access to a product, use a product, it is called as excludable. And once you start using the product, it becomes unavailable for others. Only you can use it. Others cannot use it. That is rivalry. Okay. So whenever you talk about private products, again, not private sector, whenever you talk about private products, they will carry excludability and rivalry feature. And whenever you talk about public goods, these are non-rival and non-excludable. Sir, any example of a private good? My dear, the mobile phone that you're holding right now, the biscuit packet which is sitting right in front of you, or a bar of chocolate which is sitting right in front of you. You tell me, have you paid money for it? Again, when I say have you, it could be you, it could be your parents, anybody. Have you paid money for it? Yes. Because you have purchased it, is it not unavailable for others? Yes. So, can I say this is a private good? Is the logic okay? Can I call this as a private good? On the other side, public good. Just after the class is over, open the door, there'll be a street light in front of your home. Simple, right? Open the door and there is a street light in front of you. Now, please tell me, will, will you pay money to sit under street light? Think of it. Will you pay money to sit or even walk under street light? No. And when you are walking, can others also walk under the street light? Of course, yes. I'll give you one more example. Have you gone to a public library? I'll give you one more example. Have you gone to a public library? Right? Public library, that's very important. So when you want to go to a public library, do you need to take a ticket? Do you need to pay any amount? Absolutely no. Right? So when you enter, can I also enter into a public library? Can your friend also enter into a public library? Of course, yes. So I hope you understand. In case of public library, I repeat, public library, it is a public good. Nobody has to pay money. And when you are entering a public library, I can also go to the public library. On the other side, your car, your mobile phone, the TV that you own, refrigerator that you own, or the AC that you are having, right? All of these are private goods. All of these are private goods. Done? Any problem with this? And those people who are saying, what about taxes? My dear, imagine you have paid taxes. Okay? Imagine you have paid taxes. Will you be allowed to walk under the street light? Yes. And I have not paid any taxes. Can you stop me from walking under the street light? Think of it. Does it make any sense? Absolutely no. Paying taxes is your duty. You're not doing any charity by paying taxes. Paying taxes is your duty. By the virtue of making money, earning money, you will have to pay taxes. That is the rule. Do not assume that because you have paid taxes, only you will be given a street light. Only you will be given Vande Bharat Express service. Only you will be allowed to use a road. Absolutely no. Right? It is available to everyone. Can I go forward now? Can I go forward? Right? So, next one. Next one. Those who are asking public library, this, that. Understand, my dear. Do not complicate economics. Do not complicate. I will complicate you. Don't worry. Many of you are asking, but sir, in public library, this is there, that is there. I'll come to that. Have patience. So one set of goods that I've discussed right now is a public good and a private good. Correct? One set of goods that I've discussed is a public good and a private good. But in addition to that, there is one more set of goods which is called as a common good and club good. Right? Listen to me very carefully. Another set is called as a common good and public good. Now, what is this common good and public good? Common goods are non-excludable and rival. I'll give you example. Have patience. Listen first. Common goods are non-excludable and rival. Example, let's start. A book in the public library. A book in the public library. Or a chair in the public library. A book or a chair in the public library. Point number one. Right? A book in the public library, I said it is a non-excludable. Non-excludable. Which means, will you pay money to read a book that is available in a public library? Answer to me. Do you have to pay money to read a book or a newspaper or a magazine that is there in a public library? No. But please think of it. Imagine you are using a book, right? Let's say Indian economy, right? Or let's say Hindu newspaper. You have gone to a library in your locality, public library, by the way. Only one Hindu newspaper is there. You have taken the Hindu newspaper and you are reading the Hindu newspaper. Now I will enter into the same library. I will enter to the same library. Please tell me now, is the Hindu newspaper available for me now? Think of it. Is the Hindu newspaper available to me? No. Don't you think in that case, Hindu newspaper in a public library is a perfect example of rival product? Is the logic okay here? Any problem? So common goods example, seats in the public library, books in the public library, etc. These are nothing but common goods which are non-excludable but rival. Come to other side. Come to the other side. Club goods. Okay, club goods. What is the concept of club goods? These are excludable but are non-rival, which means you will have to pay money. You will have to pay money, no doubt. But your consumption of the good or service still, after that also, it's still available for others for consumption. For example, right now you're watching videos, correct? You are seeing the live session. And those who have a doubt whether this is a live session or not, trust me, it's a live session. If you want, I'll show you the timing. So right now, you're watching this particular video, live session. Have you paid money for this? Yes or no? Have you paid money? Yes, excludable. But please understand, along with you, many others are simultaneously consuming the same services. Does it make sense to you? Along with you are consuming the service, but along with you, many others are also consuming the services. So your consumption doesn't mean for others it is unavailable, for others also it is available at the same point of time. I'll give you one more example. Netflix subscription, right? Disney Hotstar subscription, Amazon subscription. Will you have to pay money? Yes. But when you're watching a web series, let's say whatever web series it is, does it mean that web series is not available for others? Just think of it. Of course, no. You can also watch the same web series. I can also watch the same web series. So can I say it is non-rival but excludable? These are called as club goods. Done? Right, so excludable, non-excludable, rival, non-rival. Based on that, private goods, common goods, club goods, as well as right the public goods. Now, whenever you want to ask me whether this is that, you apply common sense. Whether this particular product or a service, is it rival, non-rival, is it excludable, non-excludable? Based on that, you can classify it under any one of them. Okay. Done. Next classification, intermediate and final good. Right, intermediate and final good. Now, what is this intermediate good and final good? Simple. A final good is consumed, is purchased and used or consumed by end consumers. Understand this very carefully. A final good is purchased and consumed. Consumed is very important. Consumed means used by the end consumers. End consumers means what? For example, you will purchase a Parle-G biscuit. Simple, correct? You will purchase a Parle-G biscuit. Why do you think you will purchase a Parle-G biscuit? For what purpose? It is for consumption. It is for eating, correct? But on the other side, let's say a hotel will purchase, right, a milk. Hotel will purchase a packet of Amul milk. Please tell me for what purpose is the hotel purchasing Amul milk? The hotel will purchase Amul milk so that they'll be able to prepare or make tea or coffee and sell it to customers. So I hope you understand this. In case of a product which is available for final consumption, not for reselling, not for selling, for usage purpose, such goods are called as final goods. And the products which are used for manufacturing something, for producing something, right, such goods are called as intermediary goods. Any problem here? Are used in further production, are used as a raw materials, and example for this is steel, aluminium, and you can think many examples. Final goods are available in the market for final consumers, not for selling, but for usage, but for consumption. Right? Value addition does not happen. There is no reselling. It is finally consumed for by the consumer only. Examples: cell phones that are there with you, the car that you have purchased, laptop that you have purchased, the TV, washing machine, right? Let's say milk, etc., etc. So this is a final good and this is an intermediary good. Can we go forward? Any problem here? I'm not a brand ambassador, right? I'm not brand ambassador for any product. Right? Don't worry. Can we go forward? Any problem here? And again, please understand. Some of you will basically say, so this product, right? Is it a final good or an intermediary good? Please understand this very carefully. A good doesn't determine whether this is a final or intermediary. Who is using it? I repeat, who is using it will determine whether this is a final or intermediary. For example, milk. You tell me, I'll give a very simple example. Milk, is it a final good or intermediary good? Is it a final or intermediary? Some of you will say final. Some will say intermediary. No, it can be both. It depends upon the situation. It depends on the context. Who is using the product? That determines whether the milk is an intermediary good or milk is a final good. For example, if milk is used by a restaurant, if it is used by a restaurant, it becomes an intermediary good. If the milk is used by you and me, right? If it is used by you or me, that is even in your house or in my house, it becomes a final good. So don't try to distinguish everything into an intermediary, final, etc., etc. Look at the situation, look at the context. Okay. Next is set of substitute goods and complementary goods, which we have discussed yesterday. What do you mean by substitute goods? These are the set of goods where, I repeat, where price and demand, price and demand are positively related. Do you remember that? Substitute goods are the set of goods where price and demand are positively related. That is, if the price of one product goes up, demand for its substitute will also go up. Right? We have discussed this example, tea or coffee. And I've told you one more point. Right? I've told you one more point, that is, in case of substitute goods, these are not consumed in combination, these are consumed individually. You don't combine them, you consume them individually. For example, you will drink tea or you will drink coffee. You don't consume both tea and coffee by combining together. On the other side, right, what about the concept of complementary goods? The complementary goods are those set of goods which are consumed in combination. Car plus fuel, right? Or car plus electricity now. Or for that matter, ink plus printer, etc. Okay. So this is another set of goods that we have discussed yesterday. That's a reason I'm not having any detailed discussion for both of them. Can we go forward now? Next concept is elasticity. Next concept is elasticity. Can we go forward? Any problem so far? This is the right time. Those who have doubt, this is when you ask the doubt. Consumed in combination, oil and natural gas. What do you mean by oil and natural gas? How do you consume both of them in combination? Demerits goods affect the society? Yes. It is not just going to affect you, but also going to affect others. Sir, your lectures are very slow. I know, my dear. I cannot go very fast for a very simple reason. For some of you, you will absorb it very quickly. For some of you, you need, right, some time to absorb it. That's the only reason I'm slow. Okay. That is in the beginning, right? As the time passes, more and more people will start get adjusted with economics. Then we can start uh, taking it a bit faster. Okay. uh, Respond. Okay. Sir, suppose a graduate person starts consuming alcohol, then then the education is merit or demerit? My dear, education is always a merit code. But I hope you understand. If I'm going to provide you education and if you do not use it, then I hope you understand, right? It's not the problem of education, it's a problem of the customer. Okay. Law of cost benefit. Again, not required. Right? Again, I hope you understand. Some of you are trying to do a lot of discussion in microeconomics. That is not required for UPSC. So if milk is consumed by consumers to make sweet or tea, coffee, then also it's a final good, na? Yes. As long as please understand, as long as the product is purchased not for selling it, not for selling, for consumption, it's a final good. Okay. Merit goods. Merit goods are those goods. Merit goods are those goods which, when consumed, will provide benefit not only to the consumer but also to the whole society. These are called as merit goods. Okay, done. Let's go forward. Let's go forward then. Let's go forward. Okay, now the concept of elasticity. Next, the concept of elasticity. Okay, now what is this idea of elasticity? Elasticity simply means we are trying to measure the change in one parameter. I repeat, listen carefully. Okay. Elasticity means we are measuring change in one parameter as a result of change in another parameter. Is it okay? I'll repeat it again. Elasticity simply means we are trying to measure change in one parameter as a result of change in another parameter. For example, many of you ask me, what do you mean by that? Please tell me, if the income of the person changes, don't you think it will have an impact on change in the demand? Think of it and do let me know. If the price of the product changes, will it influence change in the demand for the product? Yes. So what we are trying to do, what are we trying to do in case of elasticity? We are trying to measure what is the change in either the demand or supply. We are trying to measure what is the change in the demand or supply whenever any other parameter changes. That measurement is called as elasticity. That measurement is called as elasticity. Now there are four types of elasticities. One is price elasticity of a demand. Second one is income elasticity of a demand. Third one is cross elasticity of a demand. And fourth one is price elasticity of supply. Please look at it very carefully. The first three are elasticity is connected to demand, and fourth one is elasticity connected to supply. These are the four types of elasticities. Again, repeat the definition. I'll repeat it again, my dear. Right? Listen carefully. Elasticity means we are measuring what is the change in the demand or supply whenever there is a change in another variable. For example, if the income of the person changes, as a result of this, how much is the change in the demand? We are measuring that. If price of the product changes, how much is the change in the demand? We are measuring it. That is elasticity. Right? So this is a concept of elasticity. There are four types. Let's take up each one of them individually. Let's discuss it. First one is the price elasticity of a demand. Many of you keep on asking me, sir, should we keep on by hearting everything? My argument is understand the concept. Do not try to by heart everything. What do you mean by price elasticity of a demand? If there is 1% change in the price of the product, I repeat, if there is 1% change in the price of the product, as a result of this, How much is the percentage change in the demand? That is called as price elasticity of a demand. Anybody has a difficulty in understanding definition, it is there right in front of you. Do not complicate it. Price elasticity of a demand means if there is 1% change in the price of the product, change, it could increase or it could decrease. As a result of this, how much percentage change will be observed in the demand for the product? That is called as price elasticity of a demand. Look at the formula. In the denominator, you write percentage change in the price of the product, and in the numerator, you write percentage change in the demand for the same product. So percentage change in demand for good X divided by percentage change in the price of the good X. That is basically the formula. Now, how do you understand what is the meaning of it? How do you understand it? Let me take one example. I repeat, let me take one example, but before that, will UPSC ask you calculations? The answer is no. UPSC will not ask you calculation. Now let's start. Imagine there is one product. The price of the product will change from 10 rupees to 12 rupees. Simple numbers. The price of the product will change from 10 rupees to 12 rupees. As a result of this, the demand for the product, which was earlier 500 units, will now fall down to 450 units. So, one, can I say the change in the price? The change in the price is 20%. Anybody has a problem? The change in the price is right 20%. Right? Change in the price is 20%. And change in the demand is 10%. Right? Those who have doubt why it is 20, why it is 10, it's an indicator that your CSAT is weak. Use the calculator, you'll get the numbers. Now, substitute price elasticity of a demand. In the numerator, you will write change in the demand for the product. Change in the demand for product is how much? 10%. And in the denominator, you will write change in the price of the product. 20%. Can I say cancel, cancel, 0, 0 cancel, and PD is nothing but 0.5. Any problem with this? PD is nothing but 0.5. What does it indicate? What does it indicate? It simply indicates that, remember this very carefully, it simply indicates that compared to change in the price, demand is changing by very low percentage. Is it okay? I'll repeat it again. Compared to change in the price is changing by a larger number. Demand is changing by a smaller percentage. Right? These are generally said to be having inelastic demand. These are generally said to be having inelastic demand. For example, please tell me petrol. Think of it and please do answer to my question now. Do you think petrol will have elastic demand or inelastic demand? Elastic means demand will change by large number. Inelastic means very, very small percentage change. For that matter, what about food grains? What about food grains? What about electricity? Think of all of this. Do you think if the price of the electricity increases by 10%, do you think you will reduce the consumption of electricity by 20%? Have you seen that happening? If the price of food grains will change by 10%, will you consume lesser by 10%? No, you might reduce by 1%, you might reduce by 2%, right? So most of these things that I've written here, essential products, for example, salt also, yesterday we have discussed this. All these products, price might change, demand will not change by large number, very, very negligible change in the demand. Such products are basically said to be having inelastic demand. Any problem with the term inelastic demand? Right? Any problem with the term inelastic demand? Again, even if this is very difficult to comprehend, right? Calculation is very difficult, etc. I'll give a very simple example. In your college or high school, right, you must have come across the term elasticity, correct? In your college or in your high school, you must have come across the term elasticity. right? To explain elasticity, the faculty or the teacher would have brought, right, a rubber band. A rubber band, a teacher will hold it, pull it apart and say, look at its elasticity. It's very elastic. Flexibility is very high. Force versus expansion. On the other side, they would have held a rubber, right, or eraser, Natraj eraser. They would have tried to pull it apart like this and said, see, there is no flexibility in this particular eraser, which means elasticity is very, very less. Do you remember that? Apply the same logic. Price will change by 1%. That is, let me write it. Imagine there is one product, price will change by 1%, demand will change by, let's say, 15%. Is it okay? Price will change by 1%, either increase or decrease. Demand will change by 15%. Can I say this product has a elastic demand? Think of it. Can I say this product has elastic demand? Elastic means very high change, right? If the price will increase by 1%, demand will fall down by 15%. If the price will fall down by 1%, demand will increase by 15%. Elastic demand, lot of flexibility. On the other side, imagine price of the product will change by 10%. Price will change by 10%, but the demand will change by 0.05%. Right? Do you think the demand is very much elastic? No, demand is almost inelastic here. Demand is changing, but very negligibly changing. Right? This is an inelastic demand. All of you okay with the term elastic demand and inelastic demand? Let me know. Now just think of it. Just think of it. Don't you think if the PED is less than 1, PED, price elasticity of demand, is less than 1. What is the meaning of less than 1? If price is changing by 1%, demand is changing by less than 1%. Is it okay? Right? If the price is changing by 1%, the demand is changing by less than 1%. Right? So whenever this is happening, we say this has inelastic demand. This has inelastic demand. And on the other side, if price is changing by 1% and demand is changing by more than 1%, then I'll simply say this product has elastic demand. Anybody has a problem with this? So have a look at this. PED less than 1, inelastic. PED greater than 1, elastic. And PED is equal to 1, unitary, elastic. Again, you will have PED is equal to 0 also. PED is equal to, right, 1 also. PED is equal to infinity also. You'll have multiple types, but that is required more for optional paper. For GS paper, this is more than sufficient. Can we go forward now? Can we go forward? This is a concept of price elasticity of a demand. Right? Again, some of the students are asking about supply. We'll discuss supply also. Have patience. Have patience. We'll discuss price elasticity of supply also. That will be the fourth one. Okay. Next, income elasticity of a demand. Income elasticity of demand. Now, think of this. Earlier, we have discussed two types of goods. Couple of minutes ago, not very long time. Couple of minutes ago, we have discussed two goods. One is inferior goods. One is inferior goods. Second one is normal goods. Correct? One is inferior. Second one is normal goods. Now, what will happen in inferior goods? In case of inferior goods, the income and the demand are moving in opposite direction. Inverse, moving in opposite direction. Whereas in case of normal goods, income and demand are moving in the same direction. Do you remember that? Which means in case of normal goods, both are positively related, and in case of inferior goods, both are negatively related. We'll be using this concept here. Please listen carefully. What is income elasticity of a demand? IED measures with 1% change in the income. I repeat, with 1% change in the income or unit percentage change in the income, how much is the change in the demand for the product? Right? With 1% change in the income, how much is the percentage change in the demand for the product? That is called as income elasticity of a demand. And now what will be the formula? In the numerator, we'll write percentage change in the demand for the product. In the denominator, we'll write percentage change in the income of the person. Now, let's say hypothetically, there is one person, example 1. Example 1. There is one person whose income will change from 100 rupees to 120 rupees. And as a result of this, the demand for the product, which was earlier 10 units, will become now 11 units. Which was earlier 10 units will become now 11 units. So first question. Can I say directly looking at it, can I say this is a normal good? Think of it and do let me know. Looking at it only, can I say normal good? Some of you saying no. Why? Why, my dear? What is the problem? What is a normal good? What's a normal good? Income and demand will move in same direction. Same direction. That's very important. Income is increasing. Demand is also increasing. Of course, this is a normal good. What is the difficulty in this? Please do let me know. There are 2 students. Please do let me know what is the difficulty so that I can address it. But how do I calculate? How do I put it in? Right? Let's say income elasticity of demand. Start calculating. Income has increased by 20%. Any problem with this? Income has increased by 20%. The demand has increased by 10%. Substitute. IED is equal to the change in the demand by the change in the income. Cancel. What you'll get is plus 0.5. Plus 0.5. Right? Why I'm writing plus 0.5? Do you remember positively related? Positively related. Do you remember this? Normal goods are positively related. That is, whenever you get income elasticity of a demand as positive number, and can I also write whenever IED is greater than 0 here? Let me know. Number line concept. Instead of saying IED is positive, can I also say IED is greater than 0? So whenever IED is greater than 0, I'll simply call these goods as normal goods. Anybody has a problem with this? Please do let me know. Whenever ID is greater than 0 or simply positive, this is called as a normal good. Can we go forward now? Right? On the other side, exactly opposite side. Right? Imagine the income will increase from 100 rupees to 120 units and the demand will fall from 10 units to, let's say, 8 units. Another example, I'm taking second example now. Income will increase from 100 to 120. The demand will fall from 10 units to 8 units. So what is going to happen to the demand here? Demand has decreased minus 20%. Can I directly write now? In the second example, IED is a negative 1. Any problem? In the second example, IED is negative 1, right? Minus. So whenever IED is negative, can I directly say these are inferior goods? These are inferior goods. Anybody has a problem with this? Please do let me know right now. Those who are asking, should you remember calculations? UPSC will not ask you calculations. Trust me on this. If you do not trust me, please look at the last 5 years question papers. UPSC will not ask you calculations. So logic is very simple. Price goes up, right? I'm sorry, income goes up. Demand also moves in the same direction, goes up. In that case, IED will be positive, greater than 0. And whenever IED is positive, greater than 0, we'll call these as normal goods. And on the other side, if income goes up, demand goes down, right? Opposite direction, these are inferior goods. And if you calculate, IED will be negative or IED will be less than 0. Right? Hence, we'll call the second set as inferior goods. Any problem here? Let me know. Right? So IED less than 0 is an inferior good and IED greater than 0 is a normal good. Normal good and inferior good. Now next one, interesting. Third one is cross elasticity of a demand. Okay, cross elasticity of demand. What is this cross elasticity of a demand? In CED, I'll start using the short form. In CED, it will measure the change in the demand for one product as a result of change in the price of related product. I'll repeat it again. Understand the definition very carefully. In case of CED, it will measure how much is the percentage change in the demand for one product as a result of change in the price of related product. Right? What do you mean by related products? Do you remember related products? There are two types of related products. One is a substitute good and the second one is complementary good. Now let me start with an example here. Let me start with an example. In case of substitutes, in case of substitutes, let's say tea is there. Price of the tea increases by 10%. Directly I'm giving you percentage. Okay, let's say price of tea increases by 10%. Now as a result of this, the demand for coffee, let's say the demand for coffee will also increase by 5%. Possible or not? Again, exactly, don't worry. Sir, why always 5%? Why not 15%? It can happen. Don't worry about numbers. Look at the positive and negative sides. Please look at positive and negative sides. So in case of substitutes, if the price of tea goes up by 10%, I'm saying price of coffee, let's say, will increase by 5%. Substitute now. Simply substitute in the formula. What is the formula? Percentage change in the demand for good X divided by percentage change in the price of good Y. Start substituting. Right? So percentage change in the demand will be plus 5%. I'm writing CED here, cross elasticity of demand, divided by percentage change in the price of good Y. That will be plus 10%. Cancel, cancel. What will be left out? 0.5. But more importantly, it's a positive number. Now tell me, can I say directly, can I say if CED is greater than 0, it is substitute goods? Let me know. If CED, my dear, some of you are talking about normal goods, inferior goods. No, I'm talking about CED now, CED, cross elasticity of demand. If CED is greater than 0, can I say these are nothing but substitute goods? Anybody has a problem with this? No, sir, it is not substitute goods. How? Those students who are saying it is not a substitute good, you tell me why not? Why not? Because tea and coffee, these are substitute goods, right? Tea and coffee are substitute goods. Either you will consume tea or you will consume coffee. You do not combine both of them. I'm saying price of the tea has gone up. People will start substituting tea with coffee. And as a result of this, demand for coffee also has increased. And you have seen the formula. What is the formula for CED? Percentage change in the demand for, let's say I'll take this current example only, demand for coffee divided by percentage change in the price of tea. Substitute now. Substitute. Right? So you will simply get plus 0.5% plus 10% in the numerator. I'm sorry, denominator and numerator. As a result of this, CED is positive. I'll simply say CED greater than 0. So whenever CED is greater than 0, these goods are called as substitutes. Any problem with this? There are two students who are asking, sir, why are we taking positive and negative? My dear, how do you differentiate? How do you differentiate? That's the reason basics are very important. Basics are very important. Please tell me, how do you differentiate between a normal good and inferior good? How do you differentiate? You will simply say in case of normal goods, these are, that is, the income and demand are positively related. Correct? Let me know. All these we have discussed yesterday. I'll repeat it. I'm sorry, today only. In case of normal goods, what do we say? The income and demand are positively related. Positive, right? That is the change, right? That is whenever the change is happening in income, in the same direction, demand will change. So whatever is the income elasticity of a demand, if you get this as a positive number, it will be a normal good. You can use this, right? For example, many of you will say, I'll give you an example. Again, all of this is not needed for UPSC. All of this is not needed for UPSC. Calculation, UPSC will not ask you. Many of you will say, sir, what if income decreases in case of a normal good? How do you get a positive number here? Let me prove it. In case of a normal good, let's say income goes down. Let's take a number. Imagine income is 100, it will fall down to 80 rupees. As a result of this, earlier demand was, let's say 15 units. Now it has fallen down to 12 units. Simple. Normal good means it has to move in the same direction. Now, how much is the drop or decline in the income? Minus 20%. All of you okay with this? And how much is the decline in the demand? It will be minus 25%. Calculate. It's very easy. Calculate. So the income elasticity of a demand will be equivalent to change in the percentage demand, that will be minus 25%, divided by change in the income, that will be minus 20%. So cancel, minus cancel, 5 5s are, right, 5 4s are, right, and the outcome will be plus 1.25. Now simply tell me, if it is plus, what is the meaning of it? I hope you understand, right? So what is the importance of it? It will be basically, right, same thing. That is, it's a normal good. Okay, and some of you are trying to correct me in terms of calculation. Please be very careful. Calculations, you can check it later. If it is dropping from 15 to 12, it will be 3 divided by 15. That will be again, just make a correction here, it will be 20%. So it will be plus 1. Doesn't matter. So outcome will be same. It will be a normal good. And there are two students who are saying, if it is not being asked in UPSC, why are you discussing? My dear, questions on the concepts have been asked. I'll show you the questions. Don't worry. Today we'll discuss questions. Don't worry. Questions on concepts have been asked. Right? That's the reason concept is important. Can we do for complementary goods in the same way? Think of it. Can we do for complementary goods in the same way? That is, if you remember yesterday, if the price of the printer goes up, by 10%, right? Let's say positive 10%, what will happen to the demand for ink? Demand should go down, correct? Demand should go down, let's say by 15%. Now substitute, you will get CED less than 0, that is negative. That is, demand for ink will be in the numerator minus 15, and price for the printer will be there in the denominator plus 10. Right? Cancel. 5 2s are, 5 3s are. It will be minus 1.5. Minus 1.5. Okay, so minus means what? Don't worry about number. Minus 7, minus 8, doesn't matter. Don't worry about number. Look at the negative sign. Negative sign you will get for a very simple reason. These are moving in opposite direction. And whenever CED is negative, CED is less than 0, simply write these are complementary goods. Okay. Now, those who are having a doubt regarding calculation, do not worry. UPSC will not ask you to calculate all of it. But concept UPSC will ask you. Okay. So, CED less than 0, complementary. CED greater than 0, substitutes. CED is equal to 0, unrelated goods. What do you mean by unrelated goods? I'll give a very simple example. Imagine tomorrow you're reading newspaper. Okay, tomorrow morning you open the newspaper, you start reading. You will come across two very important articles. One article will say price of tea has gone up. Okay, in one article they will say price of tea has gone up. And in another article they'll say demand for shoe polish, the demand for shoe polish also has gone up. Now what you will do? You will start applying CSAT. You'll simply say price of tea has gone up, so denominator positive. Demand for shoe polish also has gone up, so numerator also positive. Right? So let's say so shoe polish will be increasing by 10%. The price of tea has increased by 5%. You will do this calculation, and now you will come to a conclusion. Both the tea and the shoe polish are substitute goods. But tell me, are both of the goods related to each other? Think of it. Are both of the goods related to each other? No, these are unrelated. Because these are unrelated, simply say CD is equal to 0. Otherwise, if you blindly calculate, if you go blindly and calculate, it simply means if the price of tea increases, instead of drinking tea, you will substitute tea by eating shoe polish. I hope you understand. Instead of drinking tea, because the price of tea has gone up, you substitute tea by eating shoe polish. Does it make any sense to you whatsoever? So obviously no. That's a reason both are unrelated goods. Both are unrelated goods. And some of you are asking, what is unrelated goods? My dear, yesterday only, not even 24 hours. Yesterday we have discussed this, right? What is unrelated goods? Change in the price of one good will influence a demand for another good. Yes or no? Yesterday we have discussed this. Change in the price of one good will influence a demand for another good. Right? Best example, tea and coffee, printer and ink, right? Let's say car and petrol. Yesterday, all of this we have discussed. Okay. So this is the concept of cross elasticity of a demand. Next one is price elasticity of supply. Okay. Price elasticity of supply. What is this price elasticity of supply? It will measure the change in the supply with unit change in the price of the product. Meaning what? If the price of the product changes by 1%, by how much percent the supply in the market of the product will change? What is the importance? You'll understand in a minute. Have patience. Right? Now, let's assume a particular product is there. Price of the product will change by 10%. Right? Price of the product, let's say, will increase by 10%. And as a result of this, automatically, I hope remember law of supply. What does it mean? It also means the supply will also change. Let's say the supply will increase, right? Increase by 15%. Supply will increase by 15%. So what does it mean? If the price is increasing by 10%, supply is increasing by 15%, more than the change in the price. Can I say supply is more elastic here? Think of it. Right? Can I say supply is more elastic? Supply is elastic. But on the other side, what if the price increases by 10%, supply increases by only 1%? Supply increases by only 1%. Can I say in the second example, supply is inelastic? All of you okay with this? Supply is inelastic. So based on the supply, a product can be classified as a product with elastic supply or inelastic supply. But what is the importance of it? What is the importance of it? Let me ask you a very simple question. Let me see how many of you think rationally. Imagine a particular product's price has increased. A particular product price has increased. Which of the two situations do you think, I repeat, which of the two situations do you think will help in reducing the price of the product? Situation 1, the product has elastic supply. Situation 2, the product has inelastic supply. I repeat, this is how UPSC will ask you questions. This is how UPSC will ask you questions. In fact, I'll give you current affairs example also. Don't worry. I repeat it again. The price of the product has increased. Under which of the two situations do you think it will help in reducing the price of the commodity, in reducing the price of the product? A product which has elastic supply or a product which has inelastic supply? Don't you think it will help in reducing the price when the supply is elastic? All of you agree with this? If the product has elastic supply, right, supply will increase, right? It will increase by a higher percentage compared to the price change. As a result of this, supply is increasing at a very faster pace. Don't you think prices will start cooling down much faster? All of you okay with this? Let me give a current affairs example. So that you understand. All of you heard of electric vehicles? All of you heard of electric vehicles? Correct or not? Anybody in the classroom who says what is an electric vehicle? Four-wheeler, three-wheeler, right? Buses, cars, right? Even two-wheelers. Now, one of the important issues relating to electric vehicles is, one, the prices are very high. All of you know this, right? The prices of electric vehicles are very high. Why? What is the reason? The reason is that they use cells. They use lithium batteries. In case of India, though we have lithium reserves, even today we import the lithium batteries into India. I repeat, please understand. In fact, in earlier webinars, we had discussed FAME. Again, may not be for you, but earlier, I believe in the month of September, October last year, we had discussed the concept of FAME initiative. And this year in the UPSC mains, UPSC had asked a question on FAME initiative only. So I hope you understand this. The cells we import, lithium cells, lithium batteries we import, and it's not easy to import it, which means a supply for the lithium batteries in India, can I call it as inelastic? Yes or no? I'll repeat it again. We are importing it. And it's not available in large quantity also. Lot of things have to happen in order to get a lithium battery. So can I say supply of lithium batteries in case of India is inelastic? Now, don't you think that is one of the reason why, despite having very high demand, having very, very high demand, supply is lagging behind, and that is the reason prices are increasing? Correct or not? Please do let me know. Demand is higher, demand is there in case of India, but we are not able to match with the demand. We are not able to increase the supply to match the demand. And as a result of this, prices will always remain elevated in India. Does it make sense or not? So I hope you understand how elastic supply, inelastic supply, etc., right, will basically be influencing in real life. Right? This is how they will influence prices in economy. Right? Can we go forward now? Right? Can we go forward? Right? So this is basically the concept of the elasticities, the four types of elasticities. Four types of elasticities. One is price elasticity of a demand, income elasticity of a demand, cross elasticity of a demand, and finally, the concept of price elasticity of supply. And questions have been asked. I'll show it later. Please don't worry. All these are very, very important. Okay. Next concept that I want to discuss is the idea of savings, investment, and capital formation. Very important, right? Please listen to me very carefully. Point number one, imagine there is a person. Okay, imagine there is a person X, and this person has earned an income of 100 rupees. Has earned an income of 100 rupees. Out of income of 100 rupees, the person will incur certain expenditure. All of you okay with this? The person will incur certain expenditure. And the remaining part, I will call it as savings. Remaining part, I'll call it as savings. In fact, to be very precise, why? I'll explain it here only. Imagine the person is earning an income of 150. Out of 150, government will collect a tax of 50 rupees. I'll repeat it. The person, rather than earning 100 rupees, I'm changing the number here. Understand this now. The person is earning income of 150 rupees. Out of this income of 150 rupees, government will collect a tax of 50 rupees. And now the person will have 100 rupees. 150 is the income, 100 rupees called as disposable income. Any problem with this? 100 rupees called as disposable income. And why this disposable income is very important? Please think of it. Look at this and tell me, what if government wants to increase the demand for goods and services in the market? What do you think government will do? Government, do you think, will increase the tax or reduce the tax? Let's see. I'll repeat it again. Imagine government wants you people to purchase more goods and services. What do you think government will do? Will the government increase the tax or decrease the tax? Right? All of you okay? Government will reduce. Some of you saying increase the tax. How, my dear? Right? How my dear? Please look at the picture. No, at least government should reduce the tax. If government will increase the tax from 50 rupees to 100 rupees, then don't you think your disposable income will fall down to 50 rupees? And out of your disposable income, you'll have to spend money to purchase goods and services. On the other side, instead of 50 rupees, what if government will collect only 10 rupee tax from you? In that case, your disposable income will become 140 rupees, which means you can spend more money for purchasing goods and services. All of this is relevant, please remember. Now, out of 100 rupee, let's say expenditure is 70 rupees. Let's say expenditure is 70 rupees, which means savings will be 30 rupees. All of you okay? Savings will be 30. And again, within savings, there are two types of savings. There are two types of savings. One is called as financial saving. I'll write it separately. One is called as a financial saving. Second one is called as a physical saving. One is called as a financial saving. Second one is called as a physical saving. What is the importance? Physical saving, imagine you will use 30 rupees to purchase gold. Right? Imagine, example of physical saving is gold, land, etc. This is called as a physical saving. Whereas, if you take this 30 rupees, keep it in, let's say, bank. Keep it in the bank. Or purchase bonds in the market, purchase shares in the market. Now, don't worry about bond, shares, etc. We'll discuss it separately. So this 30 rupee, imagine you will keep it in the bank. This is an example of financial saving. Now, what is the importance of it? Let's start. Imagine you will save 30 rupees, keep this 30 rupees in the bank. Now, please tell me what the bank will do with 30 rupees. Can I say bank will issue loan to a company? Loan to a company. All of you okay with this? Now the company has taken, let's say, a loan of 30 rupees. What do you think the company will do with 30 rupees? The company will take a loan of 30 rupees, let's say, purchase a machine, purchase raw materials, employ certain people, and can I say, company will produce and supply goods and services in the market. All of you okay with this? Company will purchase raw material, machinery, whatever it is, but produce and sell goods or services in the market. But equally on the other side, what about employment? Think of it. What about employment? Don't you think because of this, more and more people will start getting jobs? Employment will start increasing. And because the production and supply is increasing, employment is increasing, what do you think will happen to demand for goods and services? The demand for goods and services will also start increasing. And if the demand is increasing, what will happen to production? Production will increase, employment will increase, more people will get jobs, more earnings will be there, more incomes will be there. Again, the demand will increase. A simple question to all of you. Would you prefer all of this to happen to Indian economy or not? Answer to my question. Would you prefer all of this to happen to Indian economy or not? So in a simple way, all of you will agree when I say savings, if these are financial savings, bank account is nothing but financial savings now. Savings, if these are financial savings, this can promote more production, this can promote growth in the economy. Can I go forward now? If the savings are financial savings, then it can promote development, it can promote growth, it can promote employment in the economy. But on the other side, what if the savings are physical savings? Right? That is, let's say you have taken you have savings of 30 rupees. Instead of keeping that 30 rupee in the bank, you will purchase a piece of land for 30 rupees. Now, don't worry, right? Don't worry. Don't ask me, sir, what land you will get in 30 rupees. That is not the context here. So you will use this 30 rupees to purchase land. Now, please think of it and tell me, when you use this 30 rupees to purchase land, does it mean the banks will get access to this 30 rupees? Does it mean the companies can take a loan of 30 rupees? Does it mean company will purchase raw materials using this 30 rupees? No, all of this is not possible. So can I say, second very important point, can I say physical savings are not available for companies? Is the logic okay? Can I go forward now? Physical savings cannot be used by the companies. Financial savings can be used by the companies. They can generate employment, they can produce, they can lead to increase in the demand in the market. So which one is preferable? You look at it and you come to a conclusion. By the way, it is financial savings. It should be financial savings. Financial savings are very important. Okay, now next important point. Whenever you talk about any economy for that matter, I repeat, whenever you talk about any economy for that matter, there are four very important participants. Four very important participants. Who are the four very important participants? One is basically the government. One is the government. Second one is RBI. I'm pretty sure all of you heard of RBI, Reserve Bank of India, right? RBI is part of the government only. RBI is part of the government. Okay. Third one is companies. Third one is companies. And the fourth one is basically houses or households. Please remember all these points very carefully. Remember all these points very carefully. Right? There is government, there is central bank, there is companies or firms, and the fourth one is households, right? Which is basically all of us. Now, if you talk about government, government doesn't save money. Government has more expenditure. Is it okay? I'll repeat it again. If you talk about the government, government doesn't save money. Government has more expenditure. That is basically, if government is earning 100 rupees, government spends 150 rupees. So do you think government has savings here? Think of it. If government is earning 100, it is spending 150. It means it has savings. No. Government spends more, which means government borrows. Is it okay? Government takes a loan. Government borrows. That is point number one. Point number two, companies are there. Company savings are very less. Very, very less. They also save money, but their savings are very less. Come to the most important part. Come to the most important point. More than 70 to 80% of total savings in India. I repeat, more than 70 to 80% of savings in India will come from households. Now, if the savings of the households will come down, think of it. I'm saying more than 70 to 80% of the savings in India will come from the households. If the savings of the households comes down, don't you think it will have a huge impact on overall production in the economy? All of you agree with me? Right? The overall productivity, overall production, employment, right? Let's say loans, etc. Overall economy will be affected because the households which are having around 75 to 80% of the savings, their savings have actually come down. This is actually there in the current affairs. Now applied. Why? Very recently, lot of discussion is happening regarding financial savings of the households in India. Have you come across these articles? Let me know in the last 2 weeks. In the last 2 weeks itself, have you come across these articles where RBI report says the financial savings of the households have come down to one of the lowest in the last 1 decade? It has come down. And government of India says, no, right? Don't say that financial savings have come down. It's that the savings more and more are being used for physical savings. Is the logic okay? Government of India says, no, don't say that the financial savings have come down. It's not just that. The savings are there. But people, rather than saving more in the financial head, they are saving more and more under the physical head. Right? That is the argument of Government of India. Is the logic okay? Let me know. Does it make sense to you? What is the viewpoint of RBI? What is the viewpoint of Government of India? And why household savings are very important? Okay. Now, next important point. Right, next very important point. Think of it. This 30 rupee financial savings. I repeat, this 30 rupee, right, financial savings, it will be invested in the bank account. And can I say, because of this 30 rupee that you keep in the bank account, capital is getting formed in the economy. I'll come to the term capital. Right? Because of this 30 rupee financial savings that you are making, capital formation is happening in the economy. Now you'll ask me, what do you mean by capital? If you remember yesterday, I've told you capital means what? These are nothing but the assets, something that has been created by humans. Something that has been created by humans, right? And assets will generally give you returns. So now is it okay if I say financial savings will lead to formation of capital in the economy? Let me know. I repeat it again. Financial savings are connected, or we are going to lead to formation of capital in the economy. That is, in simple terms, this company will take a loan of 30 rupees. Okay, this company will take a loan of 30, and they will use the 30 rupee, let's say, to construct a manufacturing facility. Is it not capital? This company will take a loan of 30 and purchase a machine from the market. Is it not capital? So this financial savings will lead to, right, capital formation, addition to the capital in the economy. Very important, please remember. Now, some of the terminologies that I've written, let me give you definitions of it. What do you mean by savings? Out of the total earnings, whatever is your total earning, part of it is taken by the government, and remaining part of it you will use it for expenditure after paying taxes. After incurring expenditure, whatever is left out, is it okay? After paying taxes from your income, after incurring expenditure, whatever is left out, that is called as savings, right? That is called as savings. And why do people save? Why do I save? Why do you save? Right? Why your parents are saving? Is it not for future consumption? Right? In fact, I'll give you a very common example. Your parents will keep on telling you, at your age, I used to make so much of savings, right? Or else they will criticize you for purchasing Apple phone. Apple 15 you will purchase, they will criticize it, saying that you could have saved 1.5 lakh rupees, using which in future you could have purchased a home, using which you could have purchased in the future a car. So why do you save? Why does anyone save? For future consumption, right? That is concept of savings. Out of these savings, I repeat, out of these savings, how much, right? How much will be used for purchasing capital in the market? That is called as investment. Is it okay? Out of these savings, how much money will be used for purchasing capital in the market? Acquiring capital in the market, that is called as investment, right? And investment in economy are done through either through internal sources or external sources. What do you mean by external sources? Let me take a current affairs example. Let me take a current affairs example. And those who are asking for break, have patience. I'll give you in some time. Have you heard of company Micron very recently? Tell me now. This is where current affairs, reading newspapers is related. Have you heard of Foxconn? Or best example, have you heard of company Apple? Right? Don't you think Micron, Apple, Foxconn, all these are foreign companies? Is it okay? All these are foreign companies. They are investing in India. They are investing in India. So whenever you talk about total investment, whenever you talk about capital formation, can I now say the investment in India can be done using internal resources as well as external resources? Is it okay? I'll repeat it again. Whenever you talk about total amount of investment in India or the capital formation in India, can I say it can be done using internal resources as well as external resources? Best example is Micron. External, I'm talking about Apple, Foxconn, etc. Right? So investment, you can use it from internal resources as well as external resources. Right? And finally, have a look at this. Capital. What does the term capital mean? Capital means anything that has been created by humans, using which, again, you are going to produce something else. For example, machines. For example, manufacturing facility. For example, infrastructure. All these are used in manufacturing of goods, services, and selling in the market. Now think of it, from one year to next year, will the investment increase as a result of which will the capital also change or not? I'll repeat it again. From 1 year to next year, don't you think investment will also change and capital will also keep on changing? Let me take an example. Imagine you start a manufacturing facility today. Next year, you will invest 10 crore rupee to purchase a machine. So, can I say capital that has been formed in the next year is 10 crore rupee? So, from 1 year to next year, investment will change, capital will also keep on changing. So, this process of adding capital, I repeat, this process of adding capital from 1 year to next year is called as capital formation. All of you okay with this? This process of capital formation from 1 year to next year, as the capital keeps on getting added, this is called as capital formation. Can we go forward now? And how do you calculate rate of capital formation? Formula is investment divided by GDP. One more term for you. Divided by GDP. What is GDP? I'll write it separately. Next chapter is that only. In fact, I'll come back to this. Don't worry. Slide number 53. Okay. So have a look at this. What is the concept of GDP? GDP simply stands for gross domestic product. Right? I repeat, GDP stands for gross domestic product. And what is GDP? It represents market price of all the final goods and services which are produced in a country. Right? I'll repeat it again. It represents the market price of all the final goods and services which are produced in a country. For example, in India, let's say 10 goods are produced, final goods. That's very important. Let's say 10 final goods are produced and the market price is 15 rupees per unit, which means the market price of all the final goods and services produced in this year, in this financial year, it is 150 rupees. So all of you okay with this? All of you okay? Right. So capital formation is nothing but it is the investment that is done in an economy divided by GDP of that year into 100. Right. So what has happened to the capital formation in Indian economy recently? The concern is that post 2010, the rate of capital formation has been on a lower side. And again, there is no universal number for this. What we expect is it should be 40%, 45%, 35%. Higher the number, better it is for the country. And again, those who are asking for break, have patience, my dear. Listen, I cannot stop in between. Listen, higher the rate of capital formation, it is good for the economy. Please look at the formula and tell me if GDP, I'm sorry, if the capital formation rate for India increases, let's say from 25% to let's say 32%, is it good or not? Let me know. Right? If the rate of capital formation, if it increases from 25% to 32%, is it good? Of course, yes. Why it is good? It simply indicates that in last year, imagine for every 100 rupees GDP, capital was 25 rupees. In this year, for every 100 rupee GDP, capital is 32 rupees. Sorry, investment is 32 rupees. So don't you think that is good for economy? Of course, yes, that is good. More and more investments are happening. Capital is getting formed, which is good for the economy. So that's the reason capital formation rate should be higher. But in case of India, right before this particular decade, capital formation rate was somewhere in the range of around 36%. Later it has declined. Now it is again started to increase. It has started to increase, but it is again lower side compared to many other countries. For example, USA. For example, OECD countries. OECD, Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. For these countries, the capital formation rate is much higher compared to India, which means we need to attract more and more investment. Now you tell me, based on this discussion, does it make sense to you when government of India is attracting foreign investments in India? Think of it. Please think, at least now think, why is the government of India promoting chip manufacturers in India? Why is government of India promoting foreign companies to open manufacturing unit in India? Right? That is the argument. Investments will increase, capital formation will also increase, and that is considered good for the economy. Okay, done. Now let's take a break. Now let's take a break. Okay, right. Further concepts are there. I'll discuss that after the break. Now let's take a break. Before that, if you have got any kind of doubt, please do let me know. What is GDP? GDP stands for Gross Domestic Product. It is the total market price of all the goods and services which are produced in a particular country for, let's say, a financial year. Okay. Can we say Giffen and Veblen goods are examples of elastic goods in PED? Elastic goods? No, my dear. No. Okay. Explain what is rivalry. Rivalry simply means when you consume a product, when you purchase and start consuming a product, the availability of this product is reduced in the market. This product is not available for others to consume. For example, I'll give a very simple example. I have this bottle, I've paid money for it, excludability. Now, can I say only I can use this bottle, you cannot use it? Can I say this bottle is rival? Is it okay? Right? I've paid money for this particular bottle, right? Excludability. Only I can use this bottle, you cannot use this bottle. Is it rival? Of course, yes. Availability of this product is not there for you. Only I can use this bottle. Okay. How do governments attract foreign companies? We'll have a discussion later. Don't worry. Today is the second class. Today is the second class. What is FDI? What is Make in India? What is Startup India? What are the problems in manufacturing? What is a trade? We'll discuss in later classes. Have patience. Rival and excludable is same. How rival and excludable are same? Please tell me. Please tell me how rival and excludable are same. Excludability means you will have to pay money. That is excludability. Rival means this product is not available. Both are different angles. Both are looking at two different things. Okay. Okay. So let's take a break now. We will restart the discussion at 7:20. We'll restart the discussion again at 7:20. Please join back at 7:20. Okay, welcome back. Good evening. Am I audible? Can we start? Am I audible? Please do let me know so that we can restart. Done. Let's continue then. So we are discussing the concept of we're discussing the concept of the savings, investment as well as capital formation. So far we have understood what you mean by savings, what you mean by investment, and what you mean by capital formation. Now, whenever you talk about capital formation, right, I'll come back to this, don't worry. Generally, the capital formation is divided into two parts. Understand this carefully now. Capital formation is divided into two parts. Right? One is the concept of gross fixed capital formation. Long form is there here. Before you start asking what is the expansion, long form is there on the right side. Please have a look at it. So the total capital formation can happen in two ways. One is a gross fixed capital formation, and second one is the concept of stock. Sir, what is this gross fixed capital formation and what is this stock? Let me explain. In the earlier example, if you remember it, I said the company will take a loan from bank. Do you remember this? The company will take a loan of, let's say, 30 rupees from the bank. Now, can I say this 30 rupee can be used by the company either, right? Let's say to purchase a machine. I'll write it separately. The company can use this 30 rupee to purchase machine. That's possible, correct? And the company will also purchase, let's say, raw materials to manufacture a particular good. Now, this particular good can be a final good. This good can be an intermediary good, can be, right, let's say, supplied as a raw material to somebody else, etc. Now, can I simply say both are nothing but part of capital only? Is the logic okay with all of you? Both are nothing but the kind of assets which are created by the company, which are, right, manufactured or produced or constructed, etc., done by the company. But why do we divide it? Why do we divide these kind of assets into two parts? One is fixed capital formation and second one is stocks. The understanding is that, please look at it. In case of machine, can I say company will make the investment, but it will be done on periodical basis. Periodical in the sense, imagine you will purchase a machine today. Let's say you're a manufacturer. You'll purchase a machine today. You will throw away the machine, let's say after 5 years, after 10 years, you will purchase one more machine. You will construct a manufacturing facility today. That is also part of capital. But you will demolish this manufacturing facility maybe after 30 years. In which case, can I say, the capital on one side, there is part of the capital where money will be spent by the companies on periodical basis. Whereas on the other side, please look at the other side, raw material. Don't you think the company will spend money on purchasing raw material on day-to-day basis? Correct or not? The company will spend money to purchase raw materials, right? Either daily basis or weekly basis, which simply means on one side, the expenditure incurred by the company will be very frequent, very, very frequent, most probably on day-to-day basis. And on the other side, periodically, maybe after 5 years, maybe after 10 years, maybe after 20 years, the money will be spent by the company. On this basis, I repeat, on this basis, now look at the two types here, right? One is called as a gross fixed capital formation. One is called as gross fixed capital formation. Second one is called as stock, right? That is whenever raw materials are purchased, whenever goods are purchased, right? Whether these are semi-finished goods or these are raw materials or finished goods, all these are called as stock. On the other side, where the investment will be done on periodical basis, maybe after 5 years, maybe after 10 years, such as let's say a manufacturing facility, such as let's say a machine, right? These are called as gross fixed capital formation. Any difficulty here? Because I'm discussing this for a very simple reason. I've seen certain resources, right, certain books where they'll simply say gross fixed capital formation means the assets which are fixed. I'll repeat it. Some of the books say, right, the gross fixed capital formation means these assets are fixed. That is the reason they will use the term gross fixed capital formation. But you tell me, can the machine be shifted or not? Can the machine be moved from one location to another location? Then how can you say this is fixed? I hope you understand. How can you say this is fixed? It's not fixed because it is not movable. It is called as a gross fixed capital formation because the company will invest money on this on periodical basis, not frequently, on periodical basis, once in 5 years, once in 10 years, once in 30 years. That's the reason this is called as a gross fixed capital formation. But on the other side, don't you think company will invest money, purchase raw material on day-to-day basis, purchased finished goods on day-to-day basis, semi-finished goods on day-to-day basis? All of this will be kept under the concept of stock. Done? Any problem with this? Can we go forward? Because this is basically the end of the chapter. Any difficulty, please do let me know. Explain this again, my dear. Let me ask you a very simple question. Okay. Imagine you start a manufacturing facility. Imagine you start a manufacturing facility. You purchase a machine. Now tell me, for how many years will you use this machine? You will use the machine, let's say for 10 years. You will use the machine maybe for 20 years. Right? One example. Another example, you want to manufacture, let's say, right, a particular product. Right? It could be this marker, it could be any product. Will you not purchase raw material on a day-to-day basis? Will you not purchase raw material very frequently? So you are spending money. There are two ways you are spending money. In one way, you are spending money maybe after 5 years, maybe after 10 years, maybe after 30 years. In another way, you are spending money on a day-to-day basis, on very frequent basis. So one where you spend money after a long period of time, after a gap of certain years, you will call this as gross fixed capital formation. Is the logic okay at least now? Where you spend money after a gap of 5 years, after a gap of 8 years, right? You will take certain time period. Only then you will spend money. That is called as gross fixed capital formation. But on the other side, when you spend money on raw materials, you'll purchase raw materials, you'll purchase a semi-finished goods, you'll purchase the finished goods. That kind of investment is called as a stock. At least now this is clear. Is the logic clear to you? It is not called as a fixed capital because it is fixed. I'll repeat it. It is not called as a fixed capital because the machine is fixed, or let's say the company is fixed, etc. No, it is called as fixed capital because you're not going to spend money on everyday basis. You'll spend money periodically. Right? That's a difference between GFCF as well as the stock. Done? Okay. Right. So that is the discussion regarding the concept of savings, capital formation, as well as the concept of, right, let's say investment. Right. Now, let's start with solving the previous year questions. Whatever questions I'm going to discuss now, right, please remember, whatever questions I'm going to discuss, these are from previous years. Right, in the last 2 to 3 years, what kind of questions have come on this chapter, on the concepts you have discussed? Let's solve it. Let's start now. Okay, 44% answer correctly. Let's start. And again, please understand, same question. If I want to increase the difficulty, can I do it like this? Same question again. Can I change the options? Which is a new trend in UPSC? Only one statement is correct. Only two statements are correct. Only three statements are correct. All four statements are correct. If I want to increase the difficulty, right, I can do this way also, which is the new trend in UPSC. Now let's start solving. Consider the following statements. Other things remaining unchanged. Market demand for a good might increase if price of its substitute increases. Correct? Price of tea increases, demand for coffee increases. So first statement is correct. Price of its complement increases. The ink and printer and ink. If the price of the complementary good increases, the demand for the other good will automatically fall down. Second one is wrong. I can use elimination method, but the trend is that they have made the elimination method useless now. That's the reason I'm not using elimination method. Third, the good is an inferior good and the income of the consumer increases. If the income of the consumer increases and if this good is an inferior good, demand will come down, not increase. Demand will come down. Right? So third one is also wrong. The price of the product will fall. The price of the product falls, demand must automatically increase. So fourth one is correct. So 1 and 4 are correct as per, right? As per this option, option A is correct. And as per new option, it will be option B, only 2 are correct. Okay. Next question. Okay, 59% have answered correctly. Let's start. Which of the following can add to aggregate demand? Aggregate demand means what? Total demand. Which of the following will increase the total demand in the market? Lowering of income tax rate. And don't you think before the break we have discussed this? Let me know. Before the break, did we not discuss this? That is a situation wherein government will reduce the taxes so that you will have more disposable income and you will spend more, demand more and more goods and services. So first one is correct. Anybody has a problem? Increasing cost of raw materials. If the raw material cost increases, automatically manufacturing cost will increase. If the manufacturing cost increases, market price increases. If the market price increases, demand will not increase, demand will decrease. Second one is wrong. Increase in the value added tax. Now, don't worry, I have not discussed VAT. I know that. I have not discussed VAT. In the future classes, when I discuss GST, I'll discuss VAT. What's the basic idea for VAT? Imagine you'll purchase a product, right? In the market, the price of the product is 100. Earlier, I repeat, earlier, today there is no VAT, right? Government has introduced GST. We'll discuss that later. So earlier, along with the price, government would impose and collect certain taxes. Earlier, the type of tax was called as value added tax. Now, please don't worry about what is VAT, how it is different from GST, etc. We'll discuss that later. Have patience. So, you tell me if a value added tax increases, I repeat, if a value added tax increases, don't you think the MRP of the product will also increase? Maximum retail price, it will also increase. And if MRP increases, what will happen to the demand? Demand will start falling down. So third one is also wrong. Okay. Right. So first one is correct. Right option is option A here. Option A is the right option. Which of the following will increase demand in the market? Only the lowering of income tax rates is expected to increase the demand. The remaining two will not increase. Okay, again, same thing, same question. We can change option, make it difficult. I hope you understand. We can change the option and make it difficult again. That is, only one statement is correct, only two statements are correct, all three statements are correct, or none of the statements are correct. Same question, if they want to increase the difficulty, they will replace these options with these kind of new options. Difficulty level increases. Okay. Third one. Okay. Right. As expected, more than one third of you have chosen option D. Without realizing, there is a specific term which has been asked here. Please tell me. Expansion contraction of the demand is because of what? Let me see. Yesterday also discussed, today in the beginning of the class we have discussed expansion or contraction of the demand is because of what? It is because of change in the price of the product. Change in the price of the product. What if there is a change in the income of the consumer? Did we not discuss this? Change in the income of the consumer will lead to shift of the curve. And shift of the curve means increase or decrease, not expansion contraction. Increase or decrease. So third one, wrong. Change in the taste or preference of the consumer again will lead to shift of the curve either to the left or right. This is wrong. Change in the price of the good will lead to movement along the curve. Either the demand will expand or contract whenever you observe movement along the curve. So right option is option A. So right option for this statement or this question will be option A. Any difficulty here? Any difficulty? But sir, in question, not use a curve. That's why wrong. My dear, please understand the term expansion contraction of demand. Right? Either you talk about expansion contraction of demand, it always means there is a movement along the curve. It simply means you are moving from one point of the curve to another point of the curve. I hope you understand this. When do you say there is expansion or contraction of a demand? Let's say right now, this is a situation. Okay, let's take a hypothetical situation. Let's say the price is 20 rupees. The demand is, let's say, 30 units. Now, when do you use the term expansion and contraction? When do you use the term expansion and contraction? If the price has expanded to, let's say, 30 rupees, as a result of which demand has fallen, let's say, to 15 units. This is when you use the term expansion and contraction. I hope you understand this. Right? So, second and third are wrong. First one is correct. Again, same question. Why 2 and 3 are wrong? My dear, second and third will lead to shift of the curve, and when you have shift of the curve, demand will increase or decrease. Is the logic okay? Right? Is it okay? Please do let me know. When the shift of the curve will happen, the demand will either increase or decrease. Demand will not expand or contract. Expansion and contraction will happen only when you will observe movement along the curve, and that happens only when there is a change in the price of the good. Okay, so A is correct. Right? Other options are wrong. Next one. Okay. 67% have answered correctly, but even then, why some of you are making mistake? Income effect on the demand of inferior goods will be, please tell me, income effect on the demand of inferior goods. That is, income effect on demand means what will be the impact of change in the income for an inferior good. Very simple. The income of the person will change, as a result of which demand for inferior good will be what? Will the demand for inferior good be positive, or will the demand for inferior good be negative? What is the connection? Please remember, inferior good, income and demand are going to move in opposite direction. Correct? Income and demand are going to move in opposite direction, which means the effect will be negative. All of you okay with this? The effect will be negative. That is, the income increases, demand decreases, and if the income decreases, demand increases. Negative effect. So the right option will be option B, negative here. Okay. Okay. Right. Some of the students are making mistakes. 60% have answered correctly. Which of the following statements is or correct regarding public good? Public goods are excludable but non-rivalrous. Public goods are non-excludable but rivalrous. Public goods are neither excludable nor rivalrous. Public goods are both excludable and rivalrous. Right option is option C. What is the difficulty in this question? Please do let me know. What is the difficulty? Did we discuss what is excludable, what is rivalrous? I told you, right? Private goods are both, right? Rivalrous as well as excludable. Public goods are non-excludable as well as non-rivalrous, right? So, right option is option C here. Okay. Okay, so these are the MCQs which have been asked earlier. Now, a descriptive question. Right, couple of years ago, this particular question was asked by UPSC in the mains examination. Okay, have a look at the question here. Capitalism has guided the world economy to unprecedented prosperity. However, it often encourages short sightedness and contributes to wide disparities between the rich and poor. In this light, would it be correct to believe and adopt capitalism for bringing inclusive growth in India? Discuss. Now, most of the part of the question you have heard of it. That is, capitalism will promote growth. Capitalism will lead to right very high growth in the economy. Capitalism will lead to income inequality, right, etc. You have discussed it. There is one term which has been mentioned here: inclusive growth. There is one term. We'll discuss inclusive growth separately, but let me give you a very basic idea of what is inclusive growth. Inclusive growth refers to the pace as well as pattern of growth. I repeat, inclusive growth refers to the pace as well as pattern of the growth. That is, in simple terms, inclusive growth means you'll have to promote growth as well as a development. Many of you feel that both growth and development are one and the same, and others, right, basically will believe that you basically are under the assumption that growth will always lead to development. Please understand this very carefully. Growth always is a quantitative concept. Quantitative means what? Do you remember the term GDP? Please do let me know. We'll discuss GDP separately now. Next chapter is GDP only. But please tell me, do you remember the term GDP that we discussed earlier? That is, it simply means the total market price of all the final goods and services which are produced in India. That is generally taken as a measure to find out how a country is performing, how India is performing, how right USA is performing, how China is performing, etc. For example, very recently government of India, or let's say prime minister, has stated that we will make India third largest economy in the global market, which means, right, we basically want India to be the third largest GDP in the world. Very good, right? No problem with that. But please think of it. If the GDP value for India keeps on increasing, does it mean that poor people are reducing in India? You think of it and do let me know. If GDP size keeps on increasing, does it mean that unemployment is decreasing in India? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. I hope you understand. You will ask me, sir, how is that possible? If more and more goods are produced in India, does it not mean more people are getting jobs? Not necessarily. Why? If this pen can be manufactured by me, that means I am getting employment. But what if this pen is manufactured by a machine, by artificial intelligence? What if a computer is used to manufacture this particular pen? A robot is used to manufacture this particular pen. Does it mean unemployment is going to go down? Not necessarily. Is the logic okay with all of you? So I hope you understand growth means GDP number. Development means qualitative outcome. With higher GDP, is poverty coming down? With higher GDP, is unemployment rate coming down? With higher GDP, right, is pollution going up or coming down? Right? Don't you think even development is equally important here? Think of it. Don't you think along with the growth in the GDP, development is also equally important? So if you can achieve both growth along with the development, that is generally meaning the term inclusive growth. Any problem in this? We'll discuss in detail about inclusive growth. Has India achieved inclusive growth? What are the issues of achieving inclusive growth? What is government of India doing to achieve inclusive growth? We'll discuss it separately later. Don't worry about it. But right now, all of you okay? What is growth? What is development? Why we need to achieve both of them? Both are equally important. So argument in this question is simple. Capitalism will lead to growth, right? Capitalism will lead to growth, but capitalism will also lead to income inequality. So in this context, do you think India should adopt capitalism to achieve inclusive growth? That is the crux of the question. Although the question is very lengthy, the question itself is of around 60 to 80 words. You are supposed to write these answers, right? I hope you have seen the papers now. There are two patterns. One, you are expected to write the first 10 questions. I'm talking about mains now. Mains question. The first 10 questions will be 150 words, 150 words, 10 marker each. The next 10 questions will be 250 words and 15 marker each. So 10 into 10, 100, 15 into 10, 150. Total 250 marks. So this question was asked, right, let's say for 250 words. How do you write? How do you approach it? Now, please understand this. Point number one. Many of you will face difficulty in writing a mains answer. Nothing wrong with this. Is it okay? Many of you will face difficulty in writing a mains answer. Nothing wrong with that. You need to practice. That's it. You need to practice. More practice you do, more perfect you will become in answer writing, especially for mains. Now, whenever you talk about mains answer writing, let's talk about, right? Talk about GS paper 3 Indian economy. There are three parts to the answer. There are three parts to the answer. One is introduction, second one is main body, third one is conclusion. If you ask me in terms of importance, all the three are important, but maximum number of words should not be there in introduction. Is it okay? You do not have to write a very lengthy introduction. Please don't do that. Introduction should be very sharp, very crisp, to the point. To the point. Even if it is one statement, if it is two statements, that's it. Do not write a whole paragraph of 500 words in the form of introduction. Because I'm pretty sure you're also from universities, I'm also from universities. What is our practice in the university? Practice is more number of additional sheets you attach, more marks you will get. I hope you understand. Right? I'm also product of universities in India. You're also products of universities in India. Right? You'll keep on writing. You know what is capitalism? You know what happened in America? You know what is happening in India? You'll keep on writing capitalism, capitalism, capitalism so many times in the page. Out of 250 words, 100 words will be capitalism only. So don't write it. Don't do that. Keep it very sharp, keep it crisp, right? Keep it to the point because you are supposed to write it within 250 words, right? So that's the reason. What will be your introduction? Define capitalism. Start. Define, right? Capitalism. So what is capitalism? It's a type of a system or it's a type of an economy where the central problems of the economy are solved by the private sector. That's it. The central problems of the economy. What are the central problems of the economy? Who will produce? What will be produced? How many units will be produced? At what price it will be sold? These are central problems. So who will solve these problems? Private sector. Such a system is called as capitalism. Now come to the main body. Come to the main body. Main body is very important. Maximum number of words should be there in the main body. What you will write in main body? What are the advantages? What are the merits of capitalism? It will promote a lot of investment from the private sector. Competition from the private sector will be very high. Freedom to produce, freedom to right purchase, freedom of choice to purchase kind of goods and services, right, etc., etc. Having said so, now come to the criticism. Come to the issues part of the capitalism. What are the issues in capitalism? Income inequality will increase, wealth inequality will increase. That's a problem for India. That's a problem. So income inequality, wealth inequality, harmful goods will be produced. Poverty, right, will not be eliminated because in capitalism, poor will continue to remain poor, etc., etc. What are the demerits? Now you can simply say, considering the demerits of capitalism and looking at Indian economy, which houses large poor population, capitalism is not suited for Indian economy. And in case of India, not just poverty, income inequality is existing, wealth inequality is existing. We are polluting a lot. Model of capitalism is not suited for India. Hence, the adoption of mixed economy was the right approach taken by the government earlier. We should continue to address the issues of Indian economy with the mixed economy model itself. So I hope you understand. We have taken care of introduction, we have taken care of main body, and we also have given a conclusion. Conclusion is also equally important. You cannot simply leave out the conclusion. You are basically concluding that there are certain shortages of mixed economy, but the government should address the issues through the mixed economy model itself. Right? So intro, main body, and conclusion. Again, please understand, you may not get the knack of answer writing today itself. Many of you will not understand how to write an answer today itself. Nothing wrong with that. Practice, 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 practice. More you practice, you'll become an expert in means answer writing. Okay, so with that caveat, let me go to the next chapter now. Let me start with next chapter. Okay, National Income Aggregates, NIA, National Income Aggregates. What we are going to discuss in national income aggregates, the types of national income aggregates. For example, generally these are the types: GDP, gross domestic product; GNP, gross national product; right? NDP, net domestic product; NNP, net national product; and finally NI, that is national income. Okay, let's start. Right, so what are the types of national incomes? The new GDP methodology, very important, slightly technical but very important. Question has been asked by UPSC on the methodology. UPSC has already asked a question on the methodology. I'll show you the question later, don't worry. Concept of per capita income, pro and counter cyclical growth, vicious and virtuous cycle of growth, and finally questions. Right, so pro and counter cyclical, vicious and virtuous, these are from current affairs. Generally, you will not get it in any book. Right, these are from current affairs. We'll have a discussion. Now let's start. The first one. Okay, the first one, GDP, and the most important one. For example, okay, for example, why do I say most important one? If you're reading newspapers, let me know. If you're reading newspapers, out of all these indicators, there are 5 indicators here: one, two, three, four, and five. Please tell me, if you're reading newspapers, which one generally appears on everyday basis in the newspapers? You could read Economic Times, you could have read Hindu, you could have read A, B, C, D, any newspaper. Which one appears almost every day without fail, almost every day, and which is considered to be the most important one by most of the countries around the world? It is GDP. It is a GDP, gross domestic product. Right? Even government of India always talks about GDP. They say Indian GDP, we want to make it worth 5 trillion. India will become the third largest GDP, etc., etc. So the importance is always given for GDP. So most of the discussion will be surrounding GDP. Why? It is important. Government focuses on GDP. That's the reason. The most of the discussion will be surrounding GDP itself. Now let me start GDP. What is GDP? GDP means the market price of all the final goods and services which are produced within a geographical area. Geographical area means for a country. You will calculate GDP for India. You will calculate GDP for a state. You will calculate GDP for China, etc. So for a geography, for a particular area, within that area, what is the market price of all the final goods and services which are produced? That is called as gross domestic product. Okay, that is called as gross domestic product. And please remember this, it is also calculated for a particular time period. What do you mean by particular time period? I'll introduce a concept now. There is a term called as financial year. Have you come across this? There is a term called as financial year. The short form of this is FY. They will use the term financial year, or else they will use the term fiscal. This fiscal, next fiscal, last fiscal, etc. Both are one and the same. Financial year for India will start from 1st of April, 1st of April, and will continue up to 31st March. It will start from 1st of April and will continue up to 31st March, which means, is it okay if I say right now, we are in the month of October. So can I say we are in the financial year 2023 and 2024? All of you okay with this? Can I say we are in the financial year 2023 and 2024? You can say this, or else. They will also write it like this: financial year 24, FY 2024 or 24. Right? All are one and the same. Please do not be confused. Either they will say financial year 23-24, or financial year 24, or financial year 2024. All the three are one and the same. Point number two, every financial year is broken down into 4 quarters of 3 months each. I repeat, every financial year is broken down into 4 quarters of 3 months each. That is continuously 3 months. We will break it into 4 quarters. For example, April, April, May, June. This is quarter one. July, August, September. This is quarter two. September, October, November, sorry, July to August, quarter two, September, October, November. September, October, November. Did I make a mistake here? April, May, June, done. July, August, September. See, July, August, September, second quarter. My mistake. Okay. Then October, November, December. Because I know for a fact, right, December will be the third quarter, right? Okay, so October, November, December, third quarter, then January, February, March. January, February, March will be fourth quarter. All of you okay with this? All of you okay? Right? So this is how 3 months each will be broken down into quarters. Now, next important point. I'll say we are in the third quarter of financial year 24. Anybody has a problem? I'm giving you a statement. I'm saying we are in the third quarter of a financial year 24. Right? Done? Right? All of this is okay with you? Why I'm talking about all of this? If you open up the newspaper, please open the newspaper. Every day you will come across the term GDP. They'll say third quarter is this much, second quarter is this much, fourth quarter has been this much. You don't get confused. This is the meaning that they're actually using or they are referring to. Now we will calculate GDP for every quarter. Next point. We will calculate GDP for every quarter. Right? For every quarter. First quarter, what was the GDP value? Second quarter, what was the GDP value? Third quarter, what was the GDP value? Fourth quarter, what was the GDP value? So every quarter, we calculate GDP. Every half a financial year, half means what? 6 months plus 6 months. Can I say, please have a look at it? Can I say first half means April to September? I repeat, can I say first half? First half, they will write H1. Right? Don't get confused. They will write H1. H1 means the first half of a financial year. Can I say April to September? Second half, October to March. Right? This is first half, second half. So we will calculate GDP for half a financial year also. And finally, we also calculate GDP for full financial year. For financial year 23, for financial year 22, financial year 21, what was the GDP number we calculate for every full financial year. Done? So next, so one definition is over. Second, right, for what period do we calculate? It is also over. Third one, who calculates GDP? Who will calculate GDP? Who will calculate GDP for India? It is calculated by an authority, NSO. It is calculated by an authority, NSO, that is National Statistics Office. National Statistical Office. Okay, NSO, National Statistical Office, which is part of one of the ministry, that is Ministry of Statistics. Under Government of India, there is Ministry of Statistics. Within Ministry of Statistics, there is NSO, National Statistical Office. Point number 3. Point number 4. How do we calculate GDP then? How do we calculate GDP? How do we calculate what is the market price of all the goods and services which are produced in India? There are 3 methods, very important. Listen to me very carefully. First method, output or product value method. Output or product value method. What do you mean by output or product value method? We will find out how many final goods and services which have been produced. I repeat, we'll find out how many goods and services we have produced in India. Final but multiply that with market prices. Let me explain it. Just to make it simple, I'm pretty sure all of you know this. More than lakh goods, types of goods and services are produced in India. You don't complicate it. Make it always simple. Let's assume there are only two goods or services produced in India. Only two final goods or services produced in India. Let's say X is produced. How many units? 10 units. And Y is produced. How many units? Let's say 15 units. That is final goods and services. And let's say the market price of X is 20 rupees and the market price of Y is 30 rupees. Can I make a simple calculation here? 10 into 20 will be 200. 30 into 15 will be 450 rupees. So can I say market price of all the final goods and services which are produced in India in this financial year will be worth 650 rupees. Any difficulty here? Any difficulty? Right? What I have done here? What I have done here? I have simply calculated how many final goods and services are there. I have multiplied that with their market price. Look at the formula now. Please look at the formula. The output or product value method is the final goods and services, that is the total output, multiply that with market price. Now, some of you are asking, sir, why should we consider only the final goods and services? Let me give a very simple example. Let me give a very simple example to you. Imagine, right? Imagine one example where you will take, let's say, plastic. Okay, you will take plastic, right? That is, you will purchase plastic sold by company A. You will purchase plastic. You will use this plastic to manufacture, let's say, a bottle. You will produce a bottle, sell the bottle at 100 rupees in the market. Let's say market price is 100 rupees. Now, please look at it. If the price of the plastic is, let's say, 40 rupees, if I count plastic also, that is 40, and also the market price of the bottle, that is 100, and if I say GDP of this country is 140, don't you think you have counted plastic two times? Think of it, right? I'm answering to the question. There were certain students who were saying, sir, again and again, you're saying final goods. Why are you counting only final goods? What about intermediary goods? What will happen to intermediary goods? My dear, if you count intermediary good price also, then you are counting the price of the intermediary good two times. Don't you think, right? Don't you think that will lead to double counting? Is it okay? That's the reason whenever I talk about GDP numbers, whenever you talk about GDP numbers, be very careful. I will talk only about final goods and services. Intermediary goods are not counted because the intermediary goods are already accounted in the price of the final good. That is another very important point. So first methodology, output method or product value method. Second methodology, income method. Right? Second methodology is income method. Now, what is this income method? Let me ask you a very simple question. Do you remember the concept of factor incomes? Let's see. Do you remember the concept of factor income? Let me know. Sir, when did you discuss factor incomes? Yesterday. Yesterday only we have discussed factor incomes. Now, right? Now, let's take a very simple example. Right? Let's take a very simple example here. I'll write it separately. Income method. I'll write the headline, income method. Let's take a very simple example. What is the simple example I'm talking about? Imagine you want to manufacture a product. Is it okay? Imagine you want to manufacture a product. Now, when you want to manufacture a product, you will use factors of production. Correct? You will use factors of production. And can I say, whatever money you spend, I repeat, a company, whenever they use factors of production, they will have to pay money for it. that will be leading to market price of the product. All those factors will be considered in calculating market price of the product. All of you okay with this? That is, right, if you have a doubt, let's say land is there, labor is there, capital and entrepreneurship. Land, labor, capital and entrepreneurship. So you will purchase land, let's say you will pay 10 rupees. You will use the labor, you will pay 20 rupees. You will use capital, let's say you will spend 30 rupees and you want to earn a profit of 40 rupees. So can I say, right, the market price of the product will be 100 rupees here. Think of it. Can I say market price of the product will be 100 rupees? In the same way, right, for land, factor income will be how much? 10. For labor, factor income will be 20. For capital, factor income generated in India will be 30. And profit generated in India will be 40. So get the sum total of all the factor incomes. Get the sum total of all the factor incomes. How much will you get? Can I say 100? Now please have a look at the numbers. Please have a look at the numbers. This methodology I've used to calculate what is the market price of the product. This methodology I've used to calculate what is the sum total of all the factor incomes. Both are one and the same. All of you will agree with me? Both are one and the same. And imagine this is the only one final good produced. Imagine this is the only final good which is produced in India, sold in India. So what is the market price of the good? 100. And if I calculate GDP, second time, I'm looking at the second system now. If I calculate GDP using factor income, if I calculate GDP using factor income, how much is the GDP value? 100 rupee. Now, is it okay if I say whether you calculate GDP using production method or income method, the number should be one and the same? I'll repeat it again. Right? Whether you calculate GDP using the production method or right the income method, the numbers should be one and the same. In fact, I hope you understand. Many of you are asking me a question, what about taxes, etc., etc. Tomorrow I will teach you. Please have patience. Please have patience. I will teach you how taxes are adjusted, how subsidies are adjusted, what is the type of a tax we are talking about here, what kind of subsidies are provided. Tomorrow I'll teach you. Please don't worry about it. But at least for now, is it okay if I say you can calculate GDP using production method? You can calculate GDP using income method also. But what is the most important point? The GDP numbers under both the methods should be one and the same. Should be one and the same. Right? So that is income method. Right? So have a look at the formula now. Sum of all the factor incomes generated. All the factor incomes which are generated, take the sum total, right? That will give you GDP of a country. Third method, expenditure method. Third one is expenditure method. What is this expenditure method? Please look at the formula. C plus I plus G plus X minus M. What is C? Consumer spending. What is I? The investment done by the companies. What is G? G is the government expenditure. What is X? X is imports. X is exports. M is imports. How do we calculate GDP using this formula? What is the importance of this formula? Let me explain this. Listen to me very carefully. You need to understand. Once you understand it, right, no problem whatsoever. Follow this very carefully. Let's assume 100 final goods are produced in India. Point number one. Let's assume 100 final goods are produced in India. Point number two. Is it okay if I say all the 100 final goods are not consumed in India? Some of these final goods are exported. Any problem with this? For example, let me take a current affairs example. In India, we produce lot of smartphones. Correct? You must have read in the newspaper. We produce a lot of smartphones. Smartphones are final goods. Do you think all the smartphones are used by the consumers in India? No. Some of these smartphones are exported, which means please understand this very carefully. If 100 smartphones are manufactured in India, if I want to calculate GDP, I will have to take into consideration market price of all the 100 mobile phones. Is it okay? I will have to take the market price of all the 100 mobile phones. But some of these mobile phones, let's say, have been exported, right? These have been exported. And that is very important. Point number three. Point number three. Right? In India, the final goods and services, these have to be purchased. I repeat, the final goods and services, these will have to be purchased either by government or by the houses or by the company. Any problem with this? I'll repeat it again. In India, right, whatever final goods or services are consumed, it has to be consumed by the government, it has to be consumed by households, that is you and me, or it has to be purchased by the companies. So let's say hypothetically, Government of India has spent 100 crore rupees to purchase and use final goods. The households have spent, let's say, 200 crore rupees to purchase and consume final goods. And let's say companies have spent 300 crore rupees to purchase and consume final goods. Think of it very carefully. Can I add 100 crore, 200 crore, and 300 crore and say this is a GDP of India? Please think very carefully. Can I add 100 plus 200 plus 300? That is 600 crores. Can I say this is a GDP of India? You cannot say that. Some of you are saying yes. No, you cannot say that. Why? Don't you think some of these 600 crore rupee, some of these goods and services which are consumed by us would be imported? Think of it. Some of these 600 crore rupee that I have spent, you have spent, government has spent, companies have spent, some of it will be on imports. And imagine just a very simple example. Imagine this marker, a final good, this marker is manufactured in China and this is used in India by me now. I've purchased it this year. It's a final good. Should you count the market price of this marker in India's GDP? I'll repeat it again. This marker is manufactured in China, final good. I have imported it in India. I have purchased, I'm using this year. Should I count the market price of this marker as a part of India's GDP? Answer is no. Why? This was manufactured in China. Is it okay? This was manufactured in China. Was it manufactured in India? No, this was not manufactured. Because it was not manufactured in India, I should not be counting the market price of this marker in India's GDP. So what I will do is, I'll take 100 crore plus 200 crore plus 300 crore and I'll subtract imports. I will subtract imports, then I will add exports. Now look at it and please tell me. I will subtract imports in this and I will add export. Now can I simply say this formula will give me all the final goods and services which were produced in India? I'll repeat it again. This particular formula, that is expenditure done by government plus expenditure done by households plus expenditure, that is investment done by the companies, minus imports plus exports. Can I get the market price of all the final goods and services which are produced in India Answer is yes. Any problem here? Answer is yes. You will get the market price of all the final goods and services which are produced in India. Now look at the formula. Please look at the formula. C is nothing but the expenditure on final goods and services which was done by households. I is right the expenditure on final goods and services which was done by companies. Capital, right? That is the capital investment done by the companies. And G is the expenditure done by the government on final goods and services. From all the three, I will subtract imports and I will add exports. Some of you will be confused with the plus x minus m. My dear, please understand. Some of you will simply say, no, 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 both are not one and the same. Right? Basically, argument is this is right plus, this is minus. Just go back to your basics, he said. Can I write it like this? Instead of writing minus import plus export, can I say plus export minus import? Both are one and the same. Don't say everything will change. No, both are one and the same, right? So we will write plus within the bracket exports minus import. Okay, that is the basic idea. This is the GDP methodology, third GDP methodology. Using the third GDP methodology, that is expenditure method. Expenditure. Using expenditure method also you can calculate the market price of all the final goods and services which are produced in India. Now there are two students who are asking why three methods? Why three methods? Please understand. You can use either method 1, 2 or 3. You will get the same GDP number. I'll show that. I'll prove it. Have patience. But please understand the logic of this. You will get the market price, but how you calculate? Through what method? What is the starting point? The methods are different. For example, in case of product method, we are looking at companies. We are looking at companies. We'll ask the companies, what is the final goods and services you have produced? You tell me, I will calculate GDP. In second method, income method, I'm not looking at companies, right? I'm looking at total factor incomes. How much is the total salary generated in India? How much is the total profits generated in India? Right? How much is the total investment in capital? Right? That is basically right how much is the total profits generated by the companies, how much money have they spent on capital, etc. I will look at that particular viewpoint and calculate GDP. Now please think of it, please think of it. If you look at the second method, factor income method, can I say GDP can still increase and people still keep on earning lesser incomes? Let's see. Right, I'm saying look at the second method. Please look at the second method. Basically the sum total of factor incomes in the form of rent plus wages plus profit plus capital. Right, can I say GDP can increase but still people, that is workers, that is very important, workers still keep on earning very less incomes in the country? Possible? Of course is that's possible. Right, how right, if you ask me, sir, how is that possible? My dear, profits, capitalism, please think of it. I'll just give a very simple example again, just the basic concept of it. Right, what is that? It basically talks about wages plus, right, rent plus, right, profit plus, right, that is capital, that is on capital it is nothing but interest. Right, that will give you GDP. Correct, that will give you GDP. Let's say 10 rupee plus 20 rupee plus 30 rupee plus 40 rupee, your GDP number will be 100. Now can the GDP become 200? Yes. And in that case, can it become like this? 10 plus 50 rupee, right, plus 100 rupee plus, right, let's say 30 rupee. I'm just giving 30, right? 50, oh, sorry, 40 plus 40. Can this be possible? Can this happen? Of course, yes. Can this happen? I'm not saying it is actually this way only. Can this happen? Which means Please understand. People who are businessmen, people who own asset, who invest in businesses, they have taken the large chunk of the GDP that has been added over a period of time. Rich people will continue to become rich. Is the logic okay? Rich people will continue to become rich, right? And the poor people will continue to remain poor. So GDP is increasing, but that doesn't necessarily, I repeat, GDP is increasing, but that necessarily doesn't mean poverty is reducing. That doesn't necessarily mean everybody's income has increased. That's not the meaning. It could happen in such a way that people who are rich will take away all the GDP, that is income that is getting added in the economy. Or let's say they will take 90% of the income that is getting added in the economy, and remaining people will get 10% of the total income. Can this happen? Yes, it happens. It happens because there's a capitalism. Please remember this. Right? It happens because there's a capitalism. So all of you okay? You can use first method, second method, or third method. Numbers will remain one and the same. That is the point I just wanted to make before we wind the discussion for the day. Tomorrow we'll start from this particular point. I'll prove that whether you calculate GDP, right? Whether you calculate GDP using production method, expenditure method, or even, right? Or let's finish it off. I'll require two minutes. Please focus here. Please focus. Let's assume only one final good is produced in India. Right? Because again, tomorrow I'll have to start from the beginning. I'll have to tell you factor, etc., etc. I'll finish in 2 minutes. Don't worry. So listen to me very carefully. Imagine only one final good is produced in India. No import, no export, nothing. Only one final good is produced and consumed in India. Let's say company A will produce a raw material, sell it to company B at 500 rupees. A will produce something, sell it to B. It's a raw material or intermediary good. Company B will take this raw material, finish, right, a final good, produce a final good, sell it in the market at 1000 rupee. And the customer will purchase this product that is at 1000 rupee and pay money to the company. Let's start. How does the company A decide it is 500 rupee? Labor cost of 100, profit of 400. Company B, right, they will purchase the raw material at 500, labor cost of 200, profit of 300. So the market price will be 1000. All of you are okay? How 500 has been determined? How 1000 has been determined? Now let's start. Production method. What is the first method? Production method. How many final goods? Start participating. How many final goods? One good. And what is the market price of the final good? What is the market price? 1000 rupee. So 1 into 1000. 1 into 1000. What is the GDP number? 1000 rupee. Come to the second method. Income method. What are the sum total of all the factor incomes? How much is the total wages created in the economy or wages paid in the economy? How much is total profit generated in the economy? That will be 100 plus 400 plus 200 plus 300. All of you are okay? The total factor incomes, right? What is the sum total of all the factor incomes? It will be again 1000 rupee. Come to the third method. What is the third method? Expenditure method. The total expenditure done by the government, by the houses, right, by the companies, plus exports minus imports. So no exports here, no imports here. Only one final good is there. How much is the total expenditure done by this buyer? The total expenditure done by this buyer is 1000 rupee. So GDP through expenditure method is how much? 1000 rupee. So now look at it. Please have a look at it. Whether you calculate through production method or through income method or through expenditure method. I repeat, whether you calculate through production method, income method or expenditure method, Can I now say GDP value will remain one and the same? Is it okay? GDP value will remain one and the same. Okay, right? So this is the last point for the discussion today. If you have any doubts, please do let me know, right? So that we can solve it and then stop the discussion. If company will purchase the land, then is it capital formation, right? If the company will purchase the land, obviously the reason is they want to construct a manufacturing facility, right? That is also considered as a part of capital. Okay. Sir, which method out of three is used by India to calculate country's official GDP? Generally, they will use all the three methods, but government, right? Whenever look at the estimates given by the government or NSO, they will talk about expenditure method, they will talk about production method. Okay. Huh. Expenditure done by the households, right? That is basically whatever final goods and services that we have purchased, we have paid for and purchased, that expenditure will be taken. Okay. Then three methods are not good because all are the same. How all are the same, you tell me? The value will remain same. But don't you think in what way you are calculating GDP under all the three methods are different? How we are calculating GDP? GDP number will be same, but how we are calculating GDP under all the three methodology is different. Okay. What is the GDP definition? It means the market price of all the final goods and services which are produced in a country. Is it okay? I'll repeat it again. What is the GDP? Right? Basically, it means what is the market price? What is the market price of all the final goods and services which are produced in a country? That is called as a gross domestic product. Huh. What is a final good? Final goods are those goods which are there for consumption for the consumers. That is a good or a service that I will purchase and I will use it for myself. Myself in the sense I will not sell it again in the market. Right? For example, in your home, you will purchase milk for what purpose? For making tea and drinking it in your home only. You will not sell it. If you start selling it, then the milk becomes an intermediary, not a final good. Okay. Okay, done. So let's stop the discussion today here. Let's stop the discussion today here. Tomorrow we'll continue. Tomorrow we will continue. Basically, we'll start from this particular slide. The new methodology to calculate GDP. This is important. Question has already been asked, but nevertheless important. Slightly technical. You'll have to be focused tomorrow in the beginning. Let's say half an hour. Okay, so that's it from my side. Please revise. Please revise. Right, additional reading material is there. PPT is already there. Please revise. We'll meet again tomorrow sharp at 5 p.m. Take care. Good night.